Evening, Sunday Night Football fans. This is Scott Schertzen alongside Mr. Obie Spencer. JD Walker will be joining us forthwith. And welcome to Stream Punk Sports reaction, rambling, and commentary between tonight's matchup between the first place Kansas City Chiefs and the technically second place or last place, depending on how you look at it, Denver Broncos. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are sitting high and mighty at 7-4. The Denver Broncos and the entire rest of the AFC West going into this week, we're sitting at 6-5. So right now, there's a lot riding on this matchup for both teams. And the big question is, can Patrick Mahomes continue his success against Denver, where it's currently 7-0? Turning it over to you, Mr. Obie Spencer. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. Good to see you. Did I point? Yes. All right. Good job. All right. All kidding aside, this has been a great day for football overall. I know we're going to get to some of those games, but this has been a great week for us with the primetime games. We had the exciting Cowboy game, and we got a barn burner tomorrow. And remember, you can find all those games here on Stream Punk Sports. Go ahead, like us, follow us. Whatever makes you happy makes us happy. But now to this game. You are the guy who refused to give up the ghost on Patty Mahomes. You deserve all the credit in the world for that.
Thank you.
And as I said today on NFL Insiders, this is when I'm ready to watch Patrick Mahomes be the Patrick Mahomes that we think we know and love, and hand it to a good Broncos team. I think the Broncos are not blah, but I think they are 6-5. And I don't think that they are 6-5 pretending to be better than 6-5 because of a tough schedule. I think they're 6-5 because they've beaten a few good teams along the way, but they're not a great team. And I think the Chiefs are about to show us that they are a great team. Move to 8-4, put some pressure on the Patriots and the Bills for tomorrow night. Keep the pressure on the Ravens, who choked today, and really start to establish themselves. I believe that 4 games in a row is not a fluke, and that they're just going to keep going and going at this point. So that's probably the official kibosh and jinx for them right there and then.
True. And right now you're looking at, like I said, a Patrick Mahomes who's not only 7-0 against the Broncos, but for his career is 21-6. So the Broncos have their hands full with this kind of a matchup. But you know what? Weirder things have happened. I mean, that's the world of sports. Any David can beat any Goliath on any day of the week. So it's hard to say right now that definitely guaranteed 100%, this is Mahomes' game. But you know what? This is Kansas City's game to lose right now. But as you put it out, and as you accurately said, it is their responsibility to go to 8-4 and put the pressure on both teams tomorrow night to be able to stay on top of the AFC East and stay on top of the AFC in general and get that number 1 bye overall. As we're closing into the last 4 weeks basically of the season at this point after this game, every single game matters more than ever. And this is like these divisional matchups, which are happening so much more now. This is where it all comes down to. And this one, this is going to be exciting. This is going to be fired up. I just got back in the house less than 20 minutes ago. Actually, I'm at 25 minutes ago, we'll say. I've had my cup of coffee. I'm feeling good at this point. And we're going to hit the ground running on this one today. Like I said, JD is on a little bit. Brandon right now is working because, it's Christmas and Christmas is what it is. But anyway, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is going to be interesting when you and I start to talk, when we get as rambling and so forth on some of the other games that happened today. I don't think either of us had much eyes on them. You were obviously covering what I believe was a good soccer game, and I know an exciting outcome for you.
We can talk about the MLS Eastern Conference Final a little bit, sure.
Yeah. And of course, my eyes were glued to the Formula One race today, which was just spectacular and horrific and boring and everything all at the same time. It really wasn't. That made it a great race. The fact that it was just the craziness that went on. So we're going to be kind of talking out of points. I mean, I did get to look at my Eagles a little bit against the Jets. There was no surprise on that outcome. I did get to see some of the Raiders and the football team, and definitely got to see the end of that Pittsburgh-Baltimore game all in person. Plus, I did keep up with what was kind of going on my phone. So I look forward to some of those conversations later during our show today. Especially we'll hold off the Eagles talk to JD comes, and he can give the Jets fan perspective of that nasty beatdown.
Yeah, there's a lot to go into as far as, what happened there. And, obviously my Giants, with Mike Glennon as their quarterback, did what the Giants do on the road, and they lost to, frankly, an increasingly impressive but flying under the radar Miami Dolphins team that suddenly won 5 straight, and I don't think anybody noticed that.
Let's talk about that. What I said about the NFL insiders today about this was, are you kidding me? Tua is getting no love. They tried to get rid of him, and now he's playing well. He had another game with over 50% completion. I didn't see his yards per pass.
Overall yards is 244, a little over 6 yards per pass. But
okay, I mean, and good completion percentage again, and another win. And you're right. They are quietly sneaking into the AFC playoff picture. Yeah. And Tua is quietly playing very well and making it harder and harder for you to go after one of these other big quarterbacks because, they're probably better. But, boy, they're going to cost a lot more than Tua is next year. And or the flip side is Tua might be a very attractive piece to a team like the Green Bay Packers or the Seattle Seahawks or the Houston Texans to get it,
or the New York Giants. They have draft picks they can give up.
Yep, but yes, and this, and if Tua does turn into a capable NFL quarterback, what a draft class!
They are actually lining up for the kickoff right about now. Kansas City is kicking off, which means promptly in about 9.5 seconds, I will forget which team kicked off and probably have to ask you guys later. That's usually how this works with Nick. But all in all, I mean, the Giants did what the Giants do. When I was actually, covering the soccer game, I was on the Giants Reddit. That's how I initially found out how the team was doing, because what was trending right there was, I'm done. And when you're a Giants fan for as long as I've been, you don't have to know to watch a game to know they're going to lose. When I did the YouTube video, I said straight up, they won last week. They are not going to win this week because they're going up against a Miami team that averages 105 yards on a run defense. And Daniel Jones was out, and who knows what Saquon Barkley was going to end up being like. And that's what ends up happening. They scored 9 points on 3 field goals, and Giants got a giant. So, they are doing what the Giants always do.
Yes. I just double-checked. Tua was almost 75% completion percentage.
Just a hair under, yeah. So, like I said, respect to him.
Yes.
The Lions, by the way, we got to talk about the Lions. Congratulations to them. They got to win. They actually got to win. I had mentioned the fact, I think you did too, that if there was ever going to be a chance in, HFIL, that it was going to have to be today, playing against Minnesota. And you know what? Credit where it's due. They got the first win of the season. You got that, that proverbial, challenge out of the way. Good for them. So,
look, they won. It probably didn't hurt them at all that Thielen got hurt before the game got going. But Minnesota still couldn't overcome that, and they win. Both. I mean, this is such a bizarre game because both running backs were out, and I'm now finally seeing the first play of the game. Important to note, I believe this is a Javonte Williams only game. I'm not sure if Gordon's playing. Kind of counting on Williams having a monster game today, trying to get some high scores in some leagues. Oh, and there he is, Mr. Jet himself, JD.
Yes.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are we doing,
sir? Optional in that game this afternoon.
What was that?
Defense was optional today.
Well, it's
you faced the Minshew magic, my friend. You faced the Minshew magic.
Yes, Minshew magic is back indeed. Yeah. Insert quarterback controversy articles here.
It's not a controversy in my mind. One of the quarterbacks is an average thrower and an average runner. The other quarterback is a poor thrower and a great runner. I'm going to take the two averages. Just am. I think with Devonta Smith as a weapon, Goddard as a weapon, Jalen Reagor did look good because maybe passes were on target to him today. I'm just saying.
Reagor also had 2 muffed special teams plays that he bailed himself out on, but just barely.
Just
By the way,
barely.
Teddy Bridgewater is already done. They're going off the field for now. It is now 4th down after taking a pretty rough sack right on there on 3rd down. Yeah, 3rd down and short, but that is the Kansas City defense that you want to have. There's been a lot of complaints about that defense earlier on in the season. So,
anytime you see a sack from a defense, it's a great thing. Not just because of the result on the field, but the one thing that defenses they have shown can maintain over a season or defensive player over a career. The one stat that is predictable and predictive is quarterback pressures. Not sacks, not hits, but pressures. So a sack, of course, is a pressure, a hit, and a sack when you start counting those up. So that's a good sign if you're a Kansas City fan that overall that this defense might have turned some sort of corner. And of course, if the offense can do what we expect the offense to do, that just makes that defense that much better where they can pin back their ears and go, 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 go.
Yeah. And right now, actually, there's already the first down for Kansas City at this point. So they're off to, again, a pretty quick start. I'll be hard-pressed to actually say that Denver's got much of a chance in this particular game. Again, you're playing against a Patrick Mahomes who has never lost to the Broncos. He's 21-5 or 21-6, whatever it was, at home. And they're on a tear. This is a dangerous team. This team got hot at the time they had to get hot.
Yeah, I like, if we're taking predictions, I like, again, Kansas City to cover the spread. But unlike Thursday, I'm going to go with under 46 total points for these two teams. Or 40. I'm going to, I think this Kansas City defense has really stepped up. We know they had a series of games until they played the Cowboys, or maybe even against the Cowboys as well, where they kept their opponent under 14 points. So this defense has found something that may be repeatable.
I think they're going to break the 46.5, my take. I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
8.5 is a big number, but I think that Kansas City wins by 10, and I think they get the over, but just barely. Let's go with 27-17.
You're going 27-17.
Never mind.
Okay.
That's Matt. 31-20, let's say.
31-20. Okay. So, JD. Let's see. Chiefs. Whoops. Helps us spell it right. 31-20. Let's see. Obi said Chiefs win, and cover the spread, but under 46.5.
Yep.
Spread, but under. First completion to Kelce, by the way, right over the middle for another first down.
I obviously I'm behind, but I've liked what I've seen from CEH already. This is a guy who's out this week for illness, which means probably the flu, not COVID, right? Some other contagious disease, not COVID. And he's looked good. Kelce, of course, looking great. I mean, this is a team that, it's funny. That's what I was talking about earlier today on NFL Insiders. Is Kelce has come down to only a little better than everybody else. Tyreek Hill's probably lost a step, which means he's only fast, not super fast. Their number 2 receiver is not great, but they have 3 guys, Gordon, Hardman, and Pringle. Any one of them can be a number 2 receiver on any given day. They just don't have a solid Watkins type guy. Yes, their offense seems to have been slightly dialed back, but boy, it's still coached by Big Red, who I think Big Red and Belichick are the 2 best coaches in the NFL right now, with all due respect to the handsome man in Pittsburgh and Sean over in New Orleans.
And Joe Judge, of course, too.
And Joe Judge. No due respect to Joe Judge.
No.
Not that I don't respect Joe Judge. I just don't think Joe Judge can be argued to be one of the best coach in the NFL right now.
I have a thought on that, but JD, you go first. I think you were going to say something.
Belichick and Reed are by far the best coaches in the league. Then you have Tomlin and Peyton right behind them. And Harbaugh, I think, is number 5.
There was a stat that was done that showed the record of head coaches who trained under Bill Belichick versus head coaches who trained under Bill Parcells. And the number for the coach that trained under Belichick have never historically done well. And you're seeing, like I said, personified example right there with
at least not in the NFL.
Do you mean Parcells or Reed? Because Reed's coaching tree is stupendous.
Well, Reed too, but I'm saying Parcells' coaching tree on top of that. outside of Belichick. But
Parcells' coaching tree includes Belichick and Coughlin.
Mm-hmm. And Coughlin part of that too, yeah. And then obviously the Coughlin tree on top of it. So yeah, his legacy in there as well. But as far as the Belichick numbers, no, they have never been there. Additionally, they did have a stat on here too that Kansas City is historically 19-3 when they come off the bye. So there's reason number 3 why the Chiefs are probably going to win tonight.
Yeah, and that's another Andy Reid thing. His from the bye record is
it's one of the best in the league.
Yeah,
over the course of his career. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I remember a similar stat going back to his time with the Eagles. That it was, he had a very good record off the bye.
So, what do I want to put in here? I'll put it right there. So,
and Denver's been fool's gold all season. They've just been the beneficiaries of an easy schedule. For them to even have a 6-5 record up to this point.
It's tough. It's tough for them, and obviously it's a tough division there with, the Chiefs and also the Raiders as well. But
I'm curious if finishing, say 7-10, let's say, or 7-10 or 8-9 is enough to save Fangio's job for one more season. I doubt it, but it might be.
I'd say one more year. I mean, this is not, like I said, this is not going to be the game. Tyreek Hill already took him down inside the 25-yard line.
I mean, it is conceivable that they will only get it. I say if they only get 7 wins, no, because of what it will look like, right? If they get to 7 wins, it means they lost this week. They beat the Lions and then lost 4 in a row against the Bengals, the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Chiefs. I mean, the Chargers and the Chiefs. I mean, it's going to look bad if they go to sleep at the end of the year and only get to 7 wins. If they get 8 wins, that means they beat one good team towards the end, plus probably the Lions.
So they have the Lions next week, and what's their remaining schedule the rest of the season?
Bengals, Raiders, Chargers, back to the Chiefs.
So in division for a lot of it, yeah.
That's tough.
That is a tough schedule.
If they can squeeze out they might get, like, if the Chiefs need to rest, that last week of the season, they might get a second win.
Yep. And I agree. Not only the Broncos, I don't know what the Raiders are either. And the Raiders just lost, right?
I know, really, yeah.
Yeah. So they could beat they could win, lose this game, and then go on a 3-game win streak, and then lose 2 more games, and I would not consider that shocking. Yeah, and then they end up at 9-8. I think that's what that would give you.
I'm just looking at my numbers right now since I'm a little out of the loop here. So 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4, 6-5. 6-5 so far tonight. So, yeah, go Chiefs. So I actually can salvage this night.
I didn't write them down.
Those records were your picks this morning, Scott?
Yeah, my personal picks for today.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was caught off guard by the fact that, Washington ended up winning on the road, which I didn't count on. I didn't expect the Seahawks to be able to pull off that win. And frankly, I figured the Ravens were going to probably pull that one off also.
And Detroit.
Yeah, I did predict Detroit was going to lose that game. But I also said if they were ever going to win a game this season, that was going to be the one they were going to do.
My particular pool that I'm in, there's no weekly payout, and
Mahomes to 5, the 2.
Mahomes is in for the touchdown.
Boom. So, all right, Mahomes, as I believe his Instagram is. Yep, they're off to the start they should start on. So,
wow. Okay. Hello.
Can I just state for the record, by the way, since one of you is a Philly fan and the other one, you guys is within spitting distance of Philly. You guys are an interesting bunch down there. I just want to point that out.
Oh, the Union games are fantastic. That is a heck of a stadium atmosphere,
dude. It really is.
It's pretty. That sold me on MLS being far as I'm concerned, the most underrated sporting experience in America.
Dude, I was really, there's so much more energy there than there is in New York. And I think because of the fact that New York has so many sports teams as it is, that there's inundation going on.
I've never been to a Red Bulls game, but what is Philly like compared to Red Bull Arena?
Much more energized. I mean, Red Bull Arena is not bad. Yankee Stadium pales by comparison. Philly's a lot more impassioned than Yankee Stadium was when it comes to MLS. And it wasn't just because of the fact that F-bombs, shall we say, are replete within the audience in this case.
Oh,
but
yes.
It was just, like I said, the fans were there. They were engaged. It was the only thing they were thinking about. And I love that part of it. Go ahead.
I know a ton of Union fans. And I think a lot of this, I think there's a real love of soccer in South Jersey because of the number of Rutgers alum who end up in South Jersey. And when I was at Rutgers, as the football team, of course, was God because it's the football team. It just is. Mm-hmm. But soccer was a big deal, both men's and women's. And you can think of some of the names that have come out of Rutgers soccer. Yeah. And so I think there was a desire to rehash that experience. And I know 4, 5, 6 people, I think offhand. I think it's 6 who are real Philadelphia Union fans. Like really, they take their family, their kids all the time. 3 of them having been Rutgers alums. And then you got the Rutgers Camden down there. So I think there's a lot of Rutgers feeding into that Philly thing where you get that, well, we don't have, the North Jersey team is not South Jersey. So, we're going to root for this Philadelphia Union.
But like I said, I was really impressed with just how fired up and impassioned they are. I mean, Philly fans are just, their fanatic is not just the mascot down there. I understand that. I get that. But I was really impressed with just the pure energy and vibe. When they scored the first goal of the game in the 63rd minute, in this particular case, this is, by the way, you want to talk about suffering. They had a glitch, so they had to take us out of the press box and put us into one of the luxury suites. So you want to talk about suffering.
That's an upgrade. That's quite an upgrade.
Yeah. Oh, dude, big time. And it was great. But we sat in that luxury seat and you could feel the floor shaking when that goal was scored. And it was incredible because we're sitting there. I'm putting my hand on the table and you can feel the table moving as your seat is actually jiggling because the fans were just that loud. And I'm like, dear God, I wish Yankee Stadium was like this.
I was there for about 2 years ago before COVID. I was there for a professional event before the game at the stadium. And then, we stayed for the game. And it was a regular season game against the Red Bulls, which is a big rivalry game, of course.
Anything in that East, yeah.
And I believe they were down 3-1 in that game and came back and won it 4-3, and it was nuts.
Oh yeah.
So that was a regular season game that I was there. So I can only imagine how crazy it was today. You could see it you could tell on TV just how. Because that doesn't always translate, but you feel it even watching on TV how crazy it was.
Yeah, and it was.
I'm probably just where I live is probably just outside of sound range to hear the stadium, but pretty close.
You said you're well, this was in Chester, which is about half hour south of Philly.
Yeah, I'm a few towns away from that, but the towns are small, so
dude, I'm very close. I mean, it was insane how loud it was. I loved it. We can always come back to that later. But go ahead.
Yeah, so they just put up a graphic that the Kansas City Chiefs have scored 47 points on opening drives, the number 1 team in the NFL this year. Who would have thought that? With how we have been talking about how bad this team is in the beginning of the year. And, Patrick Mahomes has lost it and everything else. They're leading the NFL in opening drives, 47 points.
Yeah.
So
and that sets the tone. So
yep. And so I think and their defense is now coming right back at it. Steve Spagnuolo getting it done. Yeah. Another Andy Reid disciple is going to get another job.
And now it's 3rd and long. And that's the thing right now. 3rd down again. Denver may have to go 3 and out and punt again, which obviously this is not what you want to do when you're Denver because you're giving the ball back to one of the best quarterbacks in the game. You're letting your own defense get burned out. This could turn into a slaughter very quickly.
Yeah. I don't like to call him one of the best. The best.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, 3rd down and 9 right now. 6:12 left to play in the first quarter.
As we head to this big 3rd down play, remember, wherever you are, we want to hear from you now. So go ahead. Leave comments if you're on Facebook, if you're watching us on Twitch, if you're watching us anywhere. Comment, talk to us. We're here for you. We want to know what's on your mind so that you can help direct the conversation.
Exactly. But another 3 and out. But yeah, as far as Philly goes, your Reddit fans, however, are a little douchey. I'm going to be honest with you on that one. You know, I got chastised yesterday on the Reddit, the Philadelphia Union Reddit page, because I had a question on there, and I explained in statistical detail why Philadelphia could conceivably win the game, despite the fact that they were missing a ton of players because of COVID. And because I told them that I believed their team had a shot of winning, I was downvoted so absolutely badly by telling them that I believed their team could win.
Philly fans plus Reddit. What did you expect?
Dude, okay. All right. Let me put my clarity here. You know, I was on the NYCFC Reddit because a lot of times I work with these guys and interact with them. And I had a conversation, and one guy's like, you know, I respectfully disagree because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I respectfully respect your disagree. And then he's like, all right, virtual gentleman's handshake between the two of us. And I'm like, okay, this is what the internet would look to me. You know, and people are liking that. I go on Reddit on Philly to ask a question unrelated. And I was like, you know, I think despite everything, you know, it's going to be a good match. Well, fuck you. This, you know, we're going to get our asses kicked. We're none of our fucking players here. Go kill yourself. And I'm like, dude. And all the downvotes kept happening. I'm like, I think your team can win. I thought you'd want to hear that.
It's tough with it, you know, with the COVID outbreak, you know, there was about 8 players out? You know?
Yes, including your starting center or starting goalie and a bunch of other players too. Yeah.
So for them to hang into the 88th minute, I mean, just if they had held that lead for any amount of time after scoring that first goal, I think they would not. They would have poured it on. But just you could feel just when NYC came down and scored that it just took the air right out of the place.
Well, yeah, and that was quick when they rebounded on that goal right there.
It was only about 90 seconds, if that.
2 minutes, yeah. You know, I mean, with this case, with New York not having their best goal scorer, you know, being suspended, that was the reason why this game was going to be as close as it was. If Totti was in the lineup, this game probably would have been a slaughter. But now I will mention this, and Obi and I talked about this earlier. The MLS Championship at 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturday the 11th, we are going to be doing a live stream of that game. So right here on Stream Punk Sports.
Of the MLS Cup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So Obi and I talked about it right before the show. I'm going to contact a couple soccer guys, and we're going to set up like an actual event with that. But because a lot of the sports writers that I know with NYCFC want to do more than just basically just write on a blog, I'm probably going to reach out to a couple and maybe get some guys together on it. Yeah. But their fantasy dream team continues. But as far as this game goes, though,
yeah,
Patrick
and also that in the Union game this afternoon, right before that go-ahead goal, where the Union had that goal, it went over the crossbar by about 3 inches.
Yep,
and that would have been the go-ahead goal, and then NYC just came down and got it in the 88th minute.
Pulled a win from out of nowhere. I know. I did I was on the ride back, and I did the press conference on that too. And you could hear like the size of relief of like, oh my God, we got out of this one. The head coach was livid. I mean, you think basically you're in the Eastern Conference, you're in the finals. You won the Eastern Conference for the first time in your team's history. You think he'd be like, I'm proud of the guys. Like, no, we missed this one. We missed this one. He trashed them, in the press conference saying, we need to do better with this, and this. We got away with a win here. We didn't actually earn this win.
That might be true, but wait until tomorrow, dude. Enjoy it.
I mean, I think he did last week when they pulled out the win out of their ass against New England. But anyway, this is a football broadcast. We can talk soccer until I'm blue in the face. Right now, we got 5 minutes left. The running game is crushing it right now for Kansas City as well.
And the screen game. Don't forget the screen game. You're ahead of me. You're ignoring the screen game there of CEH and Patty Mahomes.
Yeah. Right now, the yardage is 115 yards to 2. 14 plays to 6. 81 yards passing to, well, technically -7. Mahomes is back to pass, throws over the middle, and he gets nothing but ground. But, I wouldn't sweat it too much if you're a Chiefs fan right here.
Another thing I've noticed throughout the league today is that I don't ever remember seeing so many teams all at the same time having major kicking problems through injuries and ineffectiveness all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting pretty pathetic.
It is. Do you think it's something in how they're playing? Do you think it's the training or whatever? So, yes, we are doing football. We're going to be launching football greater, European football and everything like that. I'm going to be doing more in that coming, couple of weeks. But yes, we're starting with the MLS Cup on Saturday. So, but yeah, I mean, right now you look at this team and that was right through the hands. That should have been caught. Sorry, go ahead, JD.
Yeah, no. How dare you?
Just between the Jets kicker that they just signed off the street the other day. He probably missed 2 extra points, so he's probably getting cut tomorrow. Washington's injury and them having to finish a game with no kicker. The Jets essentially did the same thing after that second extra point. They said, all right, we're going for 2 every time after we score, and didn't even think about a field goal or anything or extra point or anything the rest of the game. Washington going through a bunch of kickers, the Saints having major problems. This is sad. I don't understand it. Also, because in my opinion, kicking in college is harder than kicking in the NFL because of the wider hash marks and the trick angles. So I don't understand why there's such of a problem with kicking as there is.
I don't know, but the Browns I think had a problem too, didn't they?
That's the thing. There's like 6 teams that have major kicking problems.
I think I believe, and the issue with kicking is actually having moved back the extra point line. And in all honesty, kicking those simple extra points just builds confidence, right? You just boom, it's like a pack, boom, it's a pack, boom, it's a pack, boom. And just by making that a kick you have to think on, and then maybe you miss, creates, even if it's a 1% more doubt than they used to have, it trickles. That is my guess, because we know kickers slump. I mean, we've just seen it where a kicker just loses his mental capacity. That's why they try to ice kickers, which of course I think is the dumbest thing. It lets them just visualize it more and more. But it seems to be a highly mental game for kickers, and I think that it's moving the kick back reduces that easy kick a little bit and just chips away at confidence just a little bit.
I mean, I know that was the reason why they did it, was because the extra point was so automatic. Speaking of automatic, Pringle is having some major butterfingers today. That's the second pass in a row that he's dropped that he should have had.
And now they're out of field goal range. So that could have at least gotten 5 or 6 yards to be able to get him close to, a 50-something yard field goal. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff you ride that bench fast.
Yeah.
You can see his frustration on that too.
But they're still going for the 56-yarder.
Respect.
24 straight field goals made against the Broncos. That's
but this
kind
is
of broadcaster jinx that usually
56 yards.
How that works. Good luck.
I love kicks like this. And it's
up. Donk through the upright and good.
Rang it off the pipe and got it in. Well, if you got him on your fantasy team, you got 5 points on that, because of that. Well, that was closer than I thought it was. I didn't realize it was going to ring off the upright like that. Yeah. It's funny. You see the replay. He just hangs his head like, thank God I didn't miss that. I love it. All right. So at this point, congratulations. They are up 10-0, 2:22 left. As you can see from the yardage right now, 36 yards rushing to 9, 88 yards rushing to -7. Broncos are falling behind fast. You know, if you're a Denver fan, you may have to start putting the panic button a little bit.
Psychology. Mm-hmm.
What's up, guys?
Hey, dude, how we doing, laddie? Oh, and how are you doing, laddie? You doing all right there, are you? You know, don't mind the fact I'm suddenly Irish for this one, but how you doing, bud?
I mind. I
Oh, you do? You're an Irishist?
you're Irish, you know. You can't just suddenly be Irish.
Well, you know what? I've got it in the veins there. I'm a whole lot of things there, but.
Well, you know, you do have you are the ginger.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, it's not so easy to see as you creep up on 50. But I remember when you were not 50.
Dude, I'm not as ginger. You remember when I was younger when I had really red hair. Now it's more of like a dark brownish, or like a light brown chestnut.
I mean, I know it's tough to see over Zoom, but this is mostly red.
Well, we'll find out in 2 weeks when we all meet up.
I too have red in the beard when it's not white. But yes, no, you and your classmate who was a heck of a ginger. His hair has darkened over the years.
Mr. Torrento, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I believe the nickname that I got was Red Pubes by your classmate, Mr. Tully.
Oh.
Yeah. You remember him well. You know, he's actually, I think he's down in South Jersey too. He's like a psychiatrist now or something.
I don't know what he is, but yes, he's definitely in my area. I swear, I saw him once. Like,
did you?
Like just 2 cars literally passing in the day. I'm like, that. I was like, I knew he was in the area. I'm like, that's Tully. And I wasn't gonna whip around and try to catch him or anything. Like, he's real close. And
like that's Tully. Oh shit! I got to, that's an accident.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know, Kansas City. I'd like to actually visit, if only for Kauffman Stadium. I want to see a Royals game over there. I'd love to see that waterfall. But 2:22 left.
I want to go to Kansas City. I also want to, at some point, go over to, as a bucket list thing, I want to go over to Kansas, to Lawrence, to see a game at Allen Fieldhouse and the display they have of the original Naismith rules.
Okay.
It's like one of those things where it's like visiting where, for basketball, it's like visiting the Sistine Chapel or something. It's like there's certain places in college basketball, Cameron Indoor at Duke, Hinkle Fieldhouse at Butler, Allen at Kansas is up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Obi, where do you want to go? Now the 2 of us got ours.
Is it sports related or just
sports related mainly, but
sports. I want to be at the top of Alpe d'Huez when they're riding up Alpe d'Huez. That is to be part of that craziness and get that close to those guys. That to me is the place to be. And there was still a small chance that I'll get to do that this year. We're got fingers crossed.
Nice. By the way, Denver actually is moving down the field with a great pickup, catching a run on that. So was it Judy? That makes sense. I benched him today. No.
Oh, good. I need Judy to have a big game.
I benched him, but honestly, it didn't matter. I was so far ahead anyway.
Yeah, I think that was about 30 yards for Judy there, I believe.
They needed that, yeah.
I'm at that point in the season where you're watching everybody's games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I need Judy to perform for me and somebody else's. Judy performs for me well. Somebody else doesn't get what they need. So, yeah, that I couldn't even tell you. It's not my game. I'm not playing against him or with him, but yeah. And as we know, I'm in 5 leagues. 3 of them I'm competing for the playoffs in. So it's all
5 leagues, 3 that matter, 1 that has money in it.
No, all of them have money in them. I don't not do money. I wouldn't pay attention.
They never actually. The guy that actually runs our league never actually asked us for money this year. Weird.
Meanwhile, you say that. Meanwhile, this guy's like, that Scott won't give me the money for this league. What is wrong with you?
No, actually, Rich is actually really good about it. but he never asked. But normally, a lot of times he's like, I never get money from certain people. There was a year I won, and he's like, I only got paid by half the people, so I can't actually pay out on this. So he gave me what, from what actually people paid. But
Gotcha.
whatever.
So yes, if Jerry Jeudy continues on his big game, he should clinch me a playoff spot.
Nice.
Combined with my win, which I think is all but official. My win. Well, I'm rooting against Tim Patrick, who can have a big game. So we'll see how that goes. All Jeudy, no Patrick is what I'm looking for there.
I'm playing against the guy who had two players that just are out and the guy that basically gave up on the season.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love those guys.
Yeah.
So.
I am currently losing 101-60 in my league. Yikes.
And where does this put you? Does this put you back in last place again?
I've been firmly in last. I closed the gap to I was 2 games in last, but I closed the gap to 1 game and thought I might have a shot to at least tie it after I beat the guy who was ahead of me. But that's not looking too good right now, especially with 1 week left in the regular season.
So you're going to get your team renamed again?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. That should. So my scoreboard watching will be at the point where I'm rooting for somebody to win who isn't too mean.
That works.
Bridgewater taking off and gets the first down on a 3rd down and 8. Good for him, man. Yeah, picks up 9 on that. Scrambling basically for his dear life, but first down.
And then in another league, I got Javonte Williams going for me. I need him to score 20-something points, which is possible in the league I'm in. And then I get high score, which helps with a lot of things. It means I beat everybody this week, and that's part of your playoffs getting in. Total points matter getting in. I'm going for the wild card, which is the 6th wild card, which is a complicated mathematical formula, which the team who's gotten the 6th wild card has won the league the first 2 years. So, maybe that's the lucky place to be in.
So does your team have a payout bonus for having a high score of the week?
High score of the week has a payout bonus. It gets higher during certain sections of the season. So, yes, that also helps along the way. But, yeah, this league is I need this win. And I need this win in a big way. And not the win. I need the high score in a big way.
By the way, they're talking Baltimore here in the surprise loss that they had against the Steelers. It's 20-19, 12 seconds left in the game, and they went for 2. Yeah. Overall, obviously, you know how it ended up in this case. They didn't get the 2-point conversion, lost the game. If you were head coach, would you have made that call, or would you have gone for 1 and pushed to overtime?
I would have it's one of those moves where it's high risk and high risk, high reward. You get the win or you lose it. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to most of it. I didn't have the game on for very much. I was doing stuff around the house, so I wasn't really paying attention. So I don't know if it was a situation where the kicker was ineffective through earlier in the day. And that's why,
as mentioned earlier on the show,
because I'm just assuming that that's common throughout the league now since I've seen like 60. It feels like every game I've watched the past 3 weeks has had a team with either no kicker or an injured kicker or a terrible kicker that they just signed off the street because the previous one was even worse.
So your win probability is actually increased by going for 2 that late in the game. You only have a 50% chance of winning if you go for 1. And that was when the kick was close. You have a 70-something% chance of winning if you go for 2. I'm sorry, you have a 56% chance of winning if you go for 2 because you have a 56% chance of actually getting the 2 points on the 2-point conversion. So if your chances of getting the 2-point conversion are better than 50%, you should go for the 2-point conversion.
So you agree with the call, even though it didn't work out well?
It was a no-brainer to me. Harbaugh was 100% right.
The only thing with that is that because he missed that 2-point conversion, he missed a chance to go up a game for the top seed in the AFC. That's where it looks. It isn't just one game. It's playoff positioning where you only get one bye, so it looks even dumber.
So unless you're telling me playing for the tie was worth it, then if you're saying that getting a tie was worth it, then your chances I think of a win or a tie are greater than your chances of the 2-point conversion. I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
But getting the 2-point conversion would have won the game, whereas it's a 50% chance of winning if you get the 1 point. So you're only giving yourself a 50% chance versus the chances of getting a 2-point conversion, which is something like 54, 55. So therefore, it's a better chance to go for the, especially when you count it's not 100% for the 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right,
I admit, while watching the Eagles-Jets game today and all the kicking problems and having to go for it so many times, I said, Opie must be loving this.
Yeah, well, Soriani definitely was tickling me pink. He was. I could not watch the whole game. As I mentioned earlier, I was enthralled by the Formula One race, but I did watch the middle of the game. And yes, Nick Sirianni, thank you very much for your aggressive play calling. And yes, like you said, we are probably in quarterback controversy land. Now, do you listen to the local radio, sports radio down here?
Every once in a while, if I happen to be in the car, but I don't make a habit of it because it is exactly what you'd expect with, out of Philly. Most of WIP is exactly what you would expect from a Philly sports talk radio station.
Philly sucks. My team sucks. Fucking fire them.
Yep, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because anytime I try listening to it, I'm done within 10 minutes.
Here's the problem with sports talk, and we get it up here in New York too, where you got Michael K show and all this kind of stuff. You get these guys who call up. You either get the guys who call up like every single day, or the guys who basically never call up, never run the radio before, and don't know how to do it. There's like no real middle ground for this.
Well, also like the thing with the fan in particular. They have their favorite callers, otherwise you can't get through. Otherwise the producers screen you out, and depending on what you want to talk about, because they will only let you talk about what they want to talk about. So say you want to call up and talk about college basketball, or they'll say, nobody cares about it until the tournament. So no, but here, let's talk about what Daniel Jones ate for breakfast, or
did he take a picture of it?
Or this signing that the Yankees made, but they talk about, when they talk about off-season hot stove stuff more than they do games that are actually going on. I like it to a point, yet at the same time it gets kind of annoying. That there's entire sports that are just ignored.
And that's part. I mean, we talked about that with MLS. I mean, here's the thing: the New York team is literally going to the finals for the first time in its history.
And there probably will not be a single word of it mentioned on the Fan this week.
And people in New York don't even know that actually they have a team.
Yeah.
I know. I'm with New Yorkers all the time. It's like, we have a soccer team? Yeah, they're going to the finals. Oh. How long have they been around?
Well, they know about the Red Bulls, but they don't know about NYCFC.
Exactly. Well, the Red Bulls are Jersey, so it's we don't really have Jersey teams in this case. Although they still call themselves New York, go fig.
Well, I think they switched with that because the whole New York / New Jersey Metro Stars thing was too clunky.
Yeah. Now they're just you have New York City and you have New York.
And when you have a corporate sponsor like the Red Bulls, they obviously don't want shit to do with New Jersey. So.
I still call them the Metro Stars though. But.
Hey, yeah. Red Bulls is a winning name in sports.
Well, I think it's something like 22 out of they've made the playoffs something like 22 of the 26 seasons of the entire MLS's existence, and they have I think 2 supporter shields, and they've never been and they've never won a championship.
Yeah,
I think they've only been in a final maybe once.
Well, the team with the best record rarely goes to the finals. I think it's like, in the last 26 years, I think only 7 or 8 teams have gotten to the finals.
It's like the President's Trophy. The supporter shield is a curse.
Yeah, it really is.
But just like the President's Trophy in hockey, where if you win that trophy for the best regular season record and then flame out in the playoffs.
Yeah, and with New England, they were off for literally over 3 weeks. So it takes time to get your legs back up and running again.
Do you think a sport that has that problem consistently has has a problem? Or is that just the way it is? And that's fine and cool that you can really be the most dominant team in the regular season and then consistently not be making the finals?
I think there's a problem with the team itself, not necessarily the league. There has to be some sort of reward for getting the best record overall. If it ends up not being a bye, could you do something with a score? I'm not saying going to go with something like this. This is not the way to do it. But as a basic example, what if you spotted the team with the absolute best record in the league with an automatic 1 point? They're up 1-0. I mean, they'll never do it, obviously.
That'll never happen.
Yeah, but I'm saying as a hypothetical, what if they did that? What if for one half you played up one man or the other team played down a man? Something to reward yourself for being the best team overall that doesn't involve such an absolute layoff that your players lose their legs. New York was prime there. They had 9 days, which is a great amount of time. But they went against a New England team that had 23 days off. And it's too much, I think, personally. It's just way too much.
The 3-week layoff is way too much.
Oh, yeah.
That I think they need to address next season. And I think, especially after last season, where with Philly bombing out after winning the Supporter Shield, that they went back to a truncated playoff format to restore the bye for the top seeds.
Mm-hmm.
So the bye is good, but it's too long of a wait, so maybe it's not so good.
I was surprised that they had a 2-week layoff between the end of the regular season and the start of the playoffs. That I think is too long.
So keep the bye
and why
but get going. So it's keep the bye but get going. This way you give your top seeded team an advantage, but you don't take away their ability to play the game because their legs get tired or not tired.
Well, you see the same thing in the NFL all the time of teams that have a bye and then they essentially rest everybody and then they have the week off and they've essentially haven't played in 3 weeks. The Colts did that just about every year for a while, for a stretch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So back to football. Oh, go ahead. One more final thought.
I was going to say, speaking of football, no, I think in the NFL, the difference is the severe risk of injury to a player is significantly more, I think, than probably any other sport in terms of losing a major contributor by playing them in a game that doesn't mean anything is tremendous.
That's why I usually say, it depends on the circumstance, depends on the team. So I say that if you have the bye coming and clinched and you have the bye week coming anyway, play week 17 for at least part of the game. If you have somebody who's injured and banged up, yes, rest them. But if they're healthy, let them play. Let your starting quarterback play for at least the first half.
Now, speaking
but also because sometimes that can be the benefit. You can benefit from that. It was the Jets in 2009, I believe, where they kind of backed into the playoffs because the Colts rested their starters and they benched Peyton Manning. And when they were up with the lead, and I think it was week 15 or week 16. In that season. And they may have been going for an undefeated record, if I remember correctly. And they essentially
they weren't going, well, technically they weren't going for the undefeated record.
Yeah.
But
because the Jets, they essentially gave the Jets a win, which helped the Jets get into the playoffs that year.
Oh, you cannot miss that. Man wide open down the middle, and the man's wide open down the middle, and they're missing that pass after a tremendous run the play before. So,
yeah. And right now, basically, there was an incomplete pass, and they're looking at second down and 10. Kansas City is still up 10-3 with almost 12 and a half minutes left. Now, talking about injury and everything like this, I wanted to ask you guys something and get your thoughts. Now we're facing a third down and 10. This one affects, obviously, this hurts me much more than it hurts you. Daniel Jones has a neck injury that is talking about being out for possibly a few weeks, quote unquote. Giving the ball to Mike Glennon, obviously, they got 3 field goals today. They lost on the road 20-9. Is this something where maybe you just tank the season and let him go?
Yes.
Or B, is this something where you just tank the season and let him go? Now, but my question is, in this case, if he's able to come back in, say, 3 weeks and the team is now, say, 4-10, do you bother to have him start?
No.
Yes. I'm going to take the other side. I think you have a young guy like Daniel Jones. You have an offense and a new coach that's still trying to figure this all out. I think you have and a new offensive coordinator mid-season. I think you have a lot. Those are practice games. I mean, do you care about winning? Maybe not. You may run plays that you make no sense in a particular spot to run that play. Mm-hmm. But I think you let Daniel Jones still get as many reps as you can get Daniel Jones, especially with this coaching staff as it's constructed.
I think you can't screw around with a neck injury.
Mm.
You need to be completely healthy for something like that. Well, anytime any of these players has any kind of neck injury or any kind of scare, it's horrible to watch, and you're holding your breath, and that it isn't something, something catastrophic for the player. So anything related to a neck injury, especially in a season where they're just playing out the string, just shut them down.
Now, so either you have faith in your medical staff to understand when a player can risk of injury or not, or you don't. If you don't have faith in your medical staff to be able to make that call, you need your medical staff. If you do have faith in your medical staff and they say that the risk of injury is not the risk of injury because of the existing injury is non-existent, then you go forward. And that's just understanding your medical staff and making sure that they know what is and what isn't.
I personally don't trust most NFL coaching staffs to have the best interest of their players in mind.
It is a business
sport-wide thing, not for any particular team. There are mountains of documented evidence going back decades of teams just doing what it takes to win. You cannot have it is inherently impossible to have unbiased medical opinions for the health and safety of players when the doctors are team employees.
But here, what is in the best interest of the team? Now, what's in the best interest of the team? Is it saying he's still not 100%, or is it saying that it's time for him to go and play?
Well, this also adds another question here. If he is in fact done for the season, is he done with the Giants? Does this force them to ramp up their efforts to find a new quarterback for next season? Russell Wilson. Earlier, we talked about maybe Tua. I mean, with what the numbers he's putting up there in Miami, do you start looking? The Giants have 2 first-round picks for next year, and also 3rd round as well, early on. So they have a plethora of draft picks. They can drop a couple of them and pick up a quality quarterback, that can get that team some kind of momentum and the intimidation factor that I talked about before. If Daniel Jones is done, do the Giants actually go down the route of a Russell Wilson or, screw it, Ben Roethlisberger or somebody like that?
Roethlisberger's done.
Yeah. But listen, this is the Giants. You never know what's going to happen. But, I mean, there's been a lot of talks about, Russell Wilson in this particular case. Tua intrigues me, because like I said, you mentioned the fact they tried to get rid of him a couple times already. If the Giants went after somebody like that, could you see it?
The thing that Daniel Jones gives you as a Giants fan, Giants team, is a low-cost contract.
Yes.
Oh, wait, we're reversed again. I got to fix that.
Yeah, so whatever you may or may not feel about him, you have to keep that in mind when you decide what you're looking to replace him with. Because he's cheap.
This is what he get. Oh, damn it! I do it again. They keep giving me smut. This is what he.
We know what it is. You can put it up.
Yeah.
There we go. Now we got it right. A little product placement on that one. But like I said, that's what he ends up giving Giants fans. And Mike Glennon obviously is clearly not the answer based on everything that happened there. This team, let's just say Reddit had a lot to say in this department today. I did happen to see the Giants Reddit while I was at the stadium for the soccer game. And I didn't need to know what the score was to know immediately how badly they were doing. You got to look, like I said, you need to have somebody where you're like, Okay, I could see them doing something here. They don't have that really at all. They don't have it with Saquon. They don't have it with Daniel Jones. They don't really just have it. They don't
The
have that
Giants,
guy.
the Giants don't really have a future. Like they don't have something where there is not a single player on that team where you look at them and say, yes, build your team around this core player or this core group of players. There's just nothing there.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
On either side of the ball.
This is the most depressed I have ever been as a Giants fan in 40 years, because I look at what this team is, and you look throughout the history of this team. You had, Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor. Then eventually you had Kerry Collins. You had, Michael Strahan. You had these players where you're like, okay, you can build something around them, and it gives something. I'm going to use the jersey sales as an example. You have players that basically get jersey sales because of what they bring to the field, an energy, a vibrancy, a passion. None of that exists with Giants Nation right now. There is no drive, energy, or passion. They're going through the motions like a disgruntled employee. And as a result, my team is trash.
Yeah, so I here we are again talking about the Jets and the Giants. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Come on, everyone. Listen to us here on Stream Punk Sports talk about the two really bad New York teams.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So, no, I think Giants fans, I think you're starting to sound like Knicks fans. Oh, this great player is going to want to come here. But what JD said is so true here. There's nothing that makes me want to go and play for your team. Nothing. You have a coach I don't trust. You got rid of an offensive coordinator mid-season, so I don't know that you're going to be a stable organization. So what is Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers going to do coming there? And Miami, who may or may not be sold on Tua, don't see a quarterback that they like more than Tua in the draft, so they're not going to trade Tua there. I think Tua is an attractive piece if you have the Aaron Rodgers or you have Russell Wilson or if you have Watson, because he's young and cheap and showing some spark.
And it's not like there's anybody good you can draft right away either. Like the draft this year is a joke for quarterbacks. Who's the best quarterback coming out of college right now? Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh? He's borderline. He's late first round borderline. He's really a second or third round talent, but he'll probably go late first round just because the team is desperate.
By the way, right now, 2nd and 8. Kansas City's got the ball, 10 minutes left to play, and a good pickup, first down, and still on his feet. And, oh, my God, still on his feet. Wow.
And the Denver defense is woken up with a fourth. Yeah. It looked like it was going to be a laugher for a while, but then the Chiefs just stopped scoring. But also it's self-inflicted for the Chiefs because of how many drops they've had.
Oh, yeah. Now, in this case, because we had to get off the topics of New Jersey and New York, as Obi subtly and quietly and very smoothly happened to mention that we were talking about those two areas again. I'm moving off topic in this particular case to the least popular team in the NFL. As you can see the topic down below. Is Trevor Lawrence the answer in Jacksonville?
I want to see what he can do with a real NFL coach next year.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen him play. I've only seen his numbers. Mm-hmm. And without having seen him play, I have to believe that this is welcome to the NFL. There's nothing around you to work with.
Yeah.
And what he did for, I think it was 2 years in high school and 4 years in college is who he really is. That's all I can say right now. I agree with JD. Something's got to change down there. Probably the coach. But, yeah, I don't know because I haven't seen it. I haven't, seen him play.
In his first season.
We did the Jaguars-Bengals game earlier this year.
Yeah.
I watched a bit of the Jaguars-Dolphins London game. And I think there was some other game. I don't know if they played one of the other teams that I saw. I just happened to have the game on for a bit. Lawrence looks like a player with talent who will be a player, but just is still learning the NFL. I think with more talent around him and better coaching, he'll be fine. I don't know if he'll be, all everything, the next Patrick Mahomes, as he was hyped up to be, this can't miss player, but he's absolutely should be a solid NFL quarterback.
So you think he'll be able to come out of this? Can he get that team to a playoff spot, though? I mean, or is that team too far gone in a lot of too many different ways?
It's tough to say because there's so many. It is when there is a competent management in place that can build a team. You can build a team from scratch in the NFL. It takes a few years, but it's possible. Is that in place in Jacksonville? I don't know, but they're not as. I mean, Jacksonville is an organization with a lot of problems, but they don't have they have the history and they don't have the history where they don't have decades of dysfunction like the Jets or the Lions or Cleveland, where they've been garbage for, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So it's possible, but I don't know. And also, I don't know what ownership's motives are. Like, is he trying to tank the team to move it? I mean, there have been Jaguars to London rumors for years, but it doesn't really seem like it's feasible from a logistical chance. But are they trying to move the team? Are they trying to extort Jacksonville for a new stadium? What are the goals here? What are they trying to do? And that determines how competitive they're trying to build the team.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I think JD said a lot of correct things there. The only thing I would add to what JD said is they were in the playoffs and in a position to make the Super Bowl, 3 years ago? They were just about to win a ball game, and then they choked out of it. And that was with Blake Bortles. We were talking about how the Giants have no other pieces. They have a lot of money sunk into Saquon, who definitely does not look like the same guy he was before he got injured. The Jaguars do have Robinson, and they do have the quarterback, possibly.
You can't build a team around a running back in today's NFL.
You can't build a team around a running back, but you can use a running back as a piece if you have a quarterback. And
the running back can be a piece.
Yes. And a cheap running back at that, a fourth-round draft pick who's not even going to be able to get, who they should be able to re-sign for relatively low in 3 years if they're good then. So I think that there are some things there that you can do with if that is the team's goal. It's hard to believe the team's goal is to win when they pick the coach who will get people in the seats but probably won't win games inside, just based on what we've all seen.
So in this case, bottom line is it's too early to really tell what's going to happen there. And you're probably right. So,
but yes, I go for this fourth down without a doubt.
All of the rookie quarterbacks in this year have been either struggling or just out and out garbage.
Mac Jones hasn't been bad up there.
With Mac Jones has been very good and getting better as the season goes along. And I had a feeling from the night of the draft, I said that as soon as the Patriots drafted him, I said they screwed up letting the Patriots letting him fall this far for the Patriots to get him.
Do you remember when there was the rumor that he was going to go number 2 to San Francisco and everybody laughed? Oh, this guy thinks he knows what he's doing. And then Trey Lance ended up getting taken there.
I knew it was between Lance and Jones at 3 for San Francisco.
Yeah. And maybe San Francisco should have let their coach do what he wanted to do.
Right now, through 12 games, not counting that, obviously, Mac Jones has a 70.3 completion rate, 16.
Is it me who's frozen?
Yeah. I think Scott's frozen.
Okay. So we won't have to hear about Mac Jones' great production under Coach Belichick.
Yeah. But I don't know if Fields is hurt in Chicago or if he was just benched for ineffectiveness. Wilson is just coming back from the injury, and he played okay today, for the first half. But it's tough to judge this the Jets are a mess all around, and their line is such a joke. Every single quarterback on that roster has been injured at some point this year.
I think what looks good for Wilson is how good Elijah Moore's been.
Yes.
Seeing that from Elijah Moore says to me, this quarterback is doing something right. What is it? I don't know, but he's showing that he can take another rookie and build something there. So as a Jet fan, I think that's a warm feeling, not a, oh my God, we got something feeling, but there might be something there. Let's see what a whole season does under the Saleh regime.
Yeah, I want to see adjustments to Saleh's coaching staff too. But, getting back to the specific topic specifically of the rookie quarterbacks or other rookies on the team, Moore started building his confidence during the Mike White games, because it seemed like Wilson wasn't really throwing to Moore very much early on in the season, and then he started having breakout games and became Mike Moore's favorite, and became Mike White. I already Freudian slip and filled him. See, that's how memorable this was. He went from being the next stud Jets quarterback, for one game, to I can't even remember his name in 2 months.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Mike White would have very much benefited from never having played another game and being signed as a free agent in 2 years. But remember that Mike White game? But
he was basically the NFL equivalent of Jeremy Lin.
Yes.
But Lin was able to parlay that into a long NBA career. So,
yeah.
But I think a team signs Mike White as a backup, and he will stay around in the NFL for a bit, whether it's with the Jets or some other team.
Yes. I mean, right. He proved that as a rookie, he proved he can be a competent backup. Hey, I think Kirk Cousins did something like that in his first year with Washington, where when Griffin
was hurt, Cousins played very well in his absence. Everybody said that Washington was crazy for drafting two quarterbacks in the same draft, but ultimately it ended up being the right move.
Yeah,
I mean, it didn't work out long term, but it did for a little bit, at least by Washington standards.
Yes. All right, I just got word from our favorite man, Mr. Churchson. He is having computer problems. He's in the middle of rebooting. Mm-hmm. While he reboots, I will remind you all that this is a great opportunity to go ahead and like us and follow us on all of our social media, be it Twitch or Facebook, and of course Instagram, and then Twitter, where we're not Streampunk Sports, just Streampunk Sport, because Twitter limits you to 15 characters. Meanwhile, Kansas City is looking at 1st and 5. I'm sorry, Denver's looking at 1st and 5, and taking control of this, not taking control, but playing some powerful offense they are. Another first down for Williams, who just keeps chugging along. He's got, 52 yards already? So Williams doing fine as the only back. I mean, that's something that I don't know how I think it's going to affect the game, but Gordon's out, and Williams has dropped a pass or two.
Yeah, Williams has been solid but inconsistent. I would know because I have him on my fantasy team. My fantasy team that's in last place, as we've discussed. So that shows you. But he's gotten me to win a few games, recently and not go over. But the Broncos running game has been up and down all year with all of the injuries to Gordon. Even Williams was out for a bit.
Yes.
And the third running back whose name escapes me at this time. So we're at the 2-minute warning, 10-3 in Kansas City.
I think that's Boone. Boone, who had that really great 14-yarder earlier in I think this drive actually, that pounding 14-yard drive. Yes. So I mean, to say what Scott always says, wow, this game's moving fast. We're at the 2-minute warning already.
Yes.
And it's probably because, look at this game. We have one team with 80 yards rushing, the other one with 50 yards rushing. So rushing does help. Patty Mahomes himself has 10 yards, 14 yards actually at this point of rushing. So it's certainly things that will help speed the game along.
Williams is 55 yards so far.
Okay. 55 yards on 12 attempts. So he's now, I mean, as a fantasy player, one of Williams' inconsistencies has been Melvin Gordon, and one of Melvin Gordon's inconsistency has been Williams, both each stealing carries from each other, especially down at the goal line if you're the Williams owner. And there he is. Mr. Scott has made it back. Welcome back, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. Computer decided to go crap itself randomly. It was an error message I never saw before.
Yes, that was the error message was, do not worry. JD and OB have got this covered for you. Breathe, relax, take your time.
Well, see, when basically you have a computer that craps itself in that moment, breathe, relax, and take your time are not usually the things you're trying to deal with. But I figured you guys had it handled so long as the stream itself didn't drop, which I guess it didn't. So
no, it does not drop when the driver drops. It's good that way.
Yeah, which actually is a good thing in this particular case. I sent you a text saying, that I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we saw that. We got that. And you came back, we got us down to the 2-minute warning, talking about how the rushing game of both these teams has been quite good. Mm-hmm. People should be happy with their fantasy output from these teams. I myself am creeping up. I am down by 11 to the number 13 to the high scorer in this league. This would be a monster high score week for me to get to really move ahead.
Cool. And there we go. That brings that back. And boom. Hey, look at that again.
Hey, look, we did it. We know what we're doing.
Yay.
So it's weird. I got a message up top asking me if I want to download the recording.
Wow. Speaking of big rushing game, time of possession in the second quarter, Denver 11:42, Chiefs 1:18.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Wow.
Yeah, Denver in this case, and they're driving too. So, but the problem is they got a lot of time left on the clock. Kansas City still has 2 timeouts remaining, so a lot can be done with that amount of time.
But Denver does get the ball back at the end to start the second half. I wrote that down this week so that when Scott asks later, I would be able to tell you.
Sir, I believe you were in fact incorrect. I believe that Kansas City kicked the ball off and Denver had to punt.
Spags looks like he's aged about 20 years since he was with the Giants a few years ago.
Oh, yeah. Ball's thrown out of place. Now brings up a 4th down, which means you're going to have to kick the field goal, probably.
Do you kick the field?
I would say no. You're OB, little by little, you're starting to win me over here. And I'm going to say no for one specific reason. Because you want to try and continue to burn that clock as much as possible. And you don't want to give Patrick Mahomes a full minute and 2 timeouts left. So you go for it on 4th down. You give out on 3 points. Yeah, and they're going to go for it. Good on them. You're 2 yards from a first down marker. You can burn off more clock if you get it. High risk, I think potentially high reward though.
You also now, even if you don't make it, you make Mahomes have to go, and that did not work. So 91 yards for Mahomes to go down the other end of the field in 1 minute and 7 seconds. It's certainly possible, but if you give him more field, then
sure.
What I think the key here to the more field question is, you give him more field. You're not going to give him too little field to be able to get a field goal, but you make him travel this extra 15 yards to get where the kickoff would come, and that's the time that he would have had to get into the end zone.
Yep.
So you're taking away that time. If they score. The field goal was, I would say, is kind of inevitable. At least the field goal shot would be inevitable, but a touchdown is not. And I think you did a little bit to help yourself not give up a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm not against this call right here.
However, I think that 3rd and 2 play, these coaches, all of them, are supposed to be so smart. And sometimes I think they're playing checkers and not chess and not looking ahead on what they're going to do. If he throws it incomplete, am I going to go for it? Yes. Well, if I'm going to go for it, if he throws it incomplete, and there's 1 minute 13 left, maybe I should run it here then let the clock come down, and then throw it on 4th and 2. The play I'm going to run on 3rd and 2 because I know I'm going to go for it. Like they haven't decided if they're going to go for it ahead of the 3rd down call all too often. Yes, it's definitely a little cool in my downstairs room, but we'll manage.
Downstairs it has. Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Is that the whiskey globe behind you?
Yes, this is the whiskey globe.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely.
So, all right. So in that case, I will probably also step out and force Obi to be in charge. No, just kidding. I'll stay put.
I'll carry the show while you guys. I think halftime is actually a great time for us all to rotate through. I think we usually do that as we have our various nature duties, family duties, and whatnot duties to take care of. Well, but not a duty. Duty's too long.
I think we've worn out the bathroom puns almost as much as we've worn out talking about 2 crappy football teams.
Yes, you may be right.
I find a parallel between the 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean today's game definitely was the toilet bowl this afternoon.
No. So the Broncos took 11 minutes and 8 seconds off the clock on that drive, converted on 2 of 3 of their 4th down attempts for 88 yards, but came with 0 points.
But just keeping the ball out of Mahomes' hand for long enough is a helpful winning formula.
Did you see that replay? That play did not have to get stopped. There was a man in motion who had a fake handoff who did not block the guy in the hole.
Yeah, so now it's 30 seconds left, and it looks like they're just going to run the clock out. They're not going to really bother with this. So that whole 31.
Yeah, it looks like they're just running it out.
Yeah, remember we said they're going to be 46.5 points or higher? Yeah. But yeah, when everybody comes back starting the second half, we're probably going to break down the Bucks win, Packers are 9-3, and the Cardinals just got more badass now that
timeout Broncos. Interesting.
Well, you know what? It's worth a shot.
They think they can they can force a punt to get the ball back, I guess.
Wow. Just came across my wire. Logan Thomas, ACL. See you next season. That's a big blow for the Washington football team. I was watching them today, and him and McLaurin are really big weapons for that team offensively with Heineke. So,
and I was just going to mention now they're 6-6 too.
Yes, that could put a damper on that, as well as because now you can really just focus on McLaurin when you're playing defense.
Yeah, that is huge because I believe Washington is currently in the last playoff spot in the NFC, and the Eagles are a half game behind them.
I believe they moved ahead of the 49ers with the 49ers loss.
Which
I believe so.
Me also, by the way.
And the Minnesota losing to Detroit helps them too.
Yes.
So right now,
6-6. So you got the 8-4 Rams, and then I think it's the 6-6 Washington football team, and then the 6-6 49ers are the 3 wild cards in that order, I believe.
And the Philadelphia Eagles are only half a game out right now too.
Yep.
Yes.
Eagles are 6-7 with a bye next week.
Yep.
And then I believe it's Washington, the Giants, and Dallas. And I think I'm forgetting somebody in there.
Well, Saints, Vikings, Panthers are all 5-7.
Well, as a Cowboy fan, as an Eagle fan, am I rooting for the Cowboys to kick the Washington football team down to 6-7?
Dude, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I think so, especially as a pragmatic Eagles fan who doesn't just root against the Cowboys no matter what. Yeah.
No, I think in this case you have to, because it's more important to get into a playoff spot than try and think maybe you can get first place out of all this.
I didn't realize until seeing that on-screen graphic during the game that the Eagles were that close to the wild card spot. Like I thought it was division or nothing. And then you realize, oh, right, with 7 playoff spots and the entire league being mediocre, 8 and 9 might be enough to get that last wild card.
Now, here's the question. When the Eagles and Washington played, do we know who won what? Because I'm saying if Washington had lost today, would they themselves, or would the Eagles in this case be in the playoff spot?
Yes, because there's a half game difference because the Eagles haven't had their bye yet.
Okay, yeah, you're right. 5-7. My bad. So yeah, the Eagles would actually be, in a wild card spot with a losing record.
The Eagles and the football team have not faced each other yet.
So they play Washington.
I just saw that, yeah. And the football team is also announced that their team will not be called the Red Wolves next season.
Yes, I'm going to
go down to 7 officially.
Yeah.
They've waited so long. I finally gotten used to calling them the football team. And now I have to call them a third thing.
That is still on the table, sir.
I've been calling them either Washington or the Washington Redacteds.
Washington is just easier. Kind of like with me when I was going Cleveland to make it, in baseball.
Yeah.
I have significantly less problem with the Guardians.
No, I don't have a problem with that either. I like the Guardians. I really do.
I mean, when I say significant, the words coming out of my mouth are just easier. Like, again, Las Vegas Raiders. I'm so Raiders, I don't even know where they're from anymore and never care. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Chargers are like a mind.
Yeah.
Certain teams and certain things work and don't work. And so the Washington football team has been an effort for me to say. I still call them that other term all too often. And I would appreciate them not changing their name from football team now that football team has become what I've learned to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably easier for me because even before the official name change, I had just been trying to get out of the habit of saying the Washington football team's old name just because it's terrible.
I don't think if you kept calling them the Washington football team, you'll get a lot of crap for it.
At this point, I think that leaving them as Washington football team is actually it's a viable option. And also not the worst option out of those 7 options.
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, if you wanted to call, the Ruby Epidermis or whatever, or whatever name they've got, I mean, Ruby Epidermis, I think could probably work in this particular case, versus what it used to be.
I knew a guy who wrote an article for years, for almost a decade, who called them the Dan Snyder Indigenous People of the Potomac.
Yeah, I've read that. The
DSIPI, I guess that right?
What was that?
The DSIPI, is that it? Indigenous People of the. But Indigenous People of what, the Potomac?
Indigenous People of the Potomac, I think he called it. Okay. He was not a big fan of Dan Snyder. It's Tuesday Morning Quarterback was the was the author.
The DSI, POTV.
That was a big play for Williams there to end the quarter.
Yeah, it did make a difference though, but
it does for your fantasy teams.
Yeah.
Do not forget the importance of this fantasy getting
I will say this: whatever you call the team, the dumpster fire in Washington, it is an absolute travesty that after all of the league investigations, which the league actively tried to bury and said there's not going to be a written report on this, and they have a disgusting toxic workplace culture. The only one to get any kind of discipline, aside from a slap on the wrist and a fine to Dan Snyder, the only one who's gotten any kind of discipline was the idiot who exchanged emails with somebody in the organization and doesn't work for the team.
Yes, you're 100% right, and that's why he's suing, because
they'll settle it.
And now even Congress apparently is trying to get involved, saying that, well, if they're a Washington football team, and and the league is trying to cover up, disgusting, conduct that violates, many OSHA laws, sexual harassment and all kinds of stuff. Congress is now saying, you really should do more about this. Whether or not that'll actually amount to anything, who knows? Or do they even have jurisdiction over it? If they still played within the borders of the district in RFK Stadium, then that might be a more credible threat. But with the stadium in Maryland, I don't think that they can really pull that card too much, aside from throwing out an occasional threat to an NFL antitrust exemption, but that never goes anywhere.
If the team was not playing in Washington and say was playing in Colorado, would Congress be involved in this?
No.
Because it's local.
Yeah, because let's not go completely down the political reasonings, but yes, there's reasons for both sides of Congress to be involved in this, which means that they're probably going to keep themselves involved for a little bit until it becomes politicized and one side decides that they want to leave it alone, the other side doesn't for whatever reason that turns out to be.
Fair enough. All right. So, any thoughts?
Commercial of rolling clothes balls? What the heck?
I believe it's an insurance commercial.
Why not? Insurance commercials are getting weirder by the day, man.
Yes, they are.
So many pharmaceutical commercials.
All right. So, I'm not kicking you out, JD, but will you be the first?
I'm going to step out for a minute.
All right, I'll close you out.
Boop.
There we go. Boop. So, all right, and then there was two.
Right, but not really. Then this is I like the idea of rotating break during halftime. I think it helps us all take care of things that need to be taken care of around the house without missing the actual game, which is what we're supposedly here to talk about.
As we get slightly older as time goes on, yes, indeed.
Yes, Yeah, but just other things. I don't always use my break for that. I sometimes just make sure my wife knows how much I love her.
Oh, that's a good call there.
Yes. Honey, if you're watching, I love you. And if you're not watching, you should be watching. You should all be watching, subscribing, liking, following us on all of the places you can find us. Stream Punk Sports on Twitch, Stream Punk Sports on Facebook, Stream Punk Sports on Instagram, and of course, Stream Punk Sport on Twitter, where we hold an S because there's only 15 characters.
But if you do an S on the end of it, honestly, it'll probably still work anyway. So whatever.
Yeah, you'll probably find it. Yes.
But yes. So right now, closing in on the second half at this point. Washington 6-6, Vegas, the Raiders 6-6. They're just breaking down everything. Credit to the Chargers though. Chargers had a very convincing win against a 7-4 Cincy team.
Yes, I believe that game was closer than the score. I think based on tracking it throughout the day, it was a close game, and then it wasn't. So I'm not positive. Again, if you're watching and I'm wrong, please comment. Let me know. We are glad to be corrected. Because I did not watch the game all day, but from what I remember seeing on my phone, the game was close, and then of course it wasn't in the end.
Yeah. But in this case, I looked up the numbers on this. The last time that Cincinnati won a playoff game was 1990. That was the year that some unknown rapper by the name of Will Smith got a TV show. People that basically were very convinced he was going to go nowhere in life because why would a rapper ever go mainstream in television?
On the football side, was Carson Palmer the quarterback?
Joe Burrow. Oh, you mean back then? No.
Yeah.
1990 was Boomer Esiason.
Carson Palmer never won a playoff game.
No.
The first game he played was against the Steelers when his knee got cracked.
They've been to the playoffs. Actually, they went to the playoffs like 4 years in a row. But
I'm talking the Palmer year. So that was the year he lost in the first game when he.
No, the last time they won, Boomer Esiason was the quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were playing the Houston Oilers back then. Yeah.
The Houston Oilers. That's even more old school than Will Smith.
Yeah. 1990, I think Rescue 911 was still on TV. I would say we didn't have Terminator 2 yet. We didn't have Super Nintendo yet. It was Nintendo versus Genesis. Yeah. Back in the
so it looks like that game got away. Looks like Cincinnati was trailing ever so slightly heading into the fourth quarter, and then 17 points were scored in the fourth quarter against them. So yes, that game was much closer than the Cincinnati had tightened the game up heading into the fourth quarter. It looks like my math is right, 22-24, and then boom.
Mm-hmm. And then just took off.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, credit to LA for pulling out that win, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They were two teams that really are really fighting for something right now in the AFC. Where it's interesting because in the NFC, there's obviously two tiers, right? There's the 4 division leaders and Los Angeles Rams who won today, and then there's the last 2 wild card spots, which is just where the mess is. In the AFC, it's close everywhere. Like, you can't tell me there's a team who you think can make the playoffs who you don't think can somehow still win their division, except for maybe the Colts are the only team that could get into the playoffs that you just, I guess they're not going to count the Titans. Although I can still see the Titans choking away the entire thing. So not even the Colts, would I say, are an AFC team that I feel can make the playoffs and not win their division.
Snoop Dogg on Peacock Sunday Night Football. Could you imagine Snoop Dogg doing play-by-play? Oh, my God. That would be phenomenal. So, I would pay money to see him do that. I mean, I remember watching him do, I think he did the Logan Paul fight, or Jake Paul fight, and he was really impressive. So, but.
Oh, yeah, he seems to have that all under control for sure.
Yeah. Actually, we were on the drive back up. We were listening. It was a song with him and Dr. Dre from way back in 1993. It's like you forget that Snoop Dogg's been around that long.
In 1993, that was 3 years after they gave that other rapper Will Smith that television show. Remember that?
That Will Smith guy's going to go absolutely nowhere. I don't know who this guy is, and like I said, who's going to give a rap? That was one of the best. Remember that movie Girl, the Kevin Smith movie, when he decided to actually start branching out.
Yeah,
doing like romantic comedy. You know, I remember there was a line in there because it took place in 1993, and Ben Affleck's character is like, like Will Smith is ever going to actually become a good actor, you know, or like, you know, he's going to be world renowned. And this was like right before he did Independence Day. He's like, like anyone's going to take him seriously as an actor. But Snoop Dogg's 50, so that means, God, he was.
Snoop Dogg's 50. So that means that I'm old.
Well, okay. Let me talk about, since we're talking about, you know, in this case, you and I, our editor, Josh, is honestly phenomenal at the stuff he does. His editing, his thumbnails. I mean, dude, I just want to, you know, I would blow a kiss to that guy in a heartbeat. I'm going to do it right now. Thank you. Because the guy is phenomenal with all the stuff he does. Great personality, all this kind of stuff. The problem with Josh is that he's young. The fastest way to feel really old is to make an SNL reference that he doesn't get. So I made a reference in this case, you know, with, you know, and obviously you're going to know it, the Bears. You know, we talk about the Bears. We talk about the thing. Yes, you know, in SNL, he's like, yeah, I don't know that reference. And I was just like, you know, and I realized that basically stuff like, you know, Colin Blow, you know, Phil Hartman, the Dana Carvey stuff, Mike Myers. No. Maybe he knows like Will Ferrell, maybe Tina Fey, Fallon, I guess. You know, I mean, when you're 21 years old, what SNL era do you know?
You know, I'm going to go with what my kids know because they're 20. And if you remember, SNL is really a show that you watch and you get into mostly when you're in high school because you can stay up late, but you're not going out. Right?
Yeah.
Unless you're like, you know, you don't go out every weekend. And when you do go out, half the time you're like, oh, yeah, we're sneaking a beer while watching SNL. So I'm going to say he knows the most recent scenario with Alec Baldwin as Trump and as a political comedy show. Like, that's probably his world of it. The Michael Shea and the guy from other dude as writers.
Kenan Thompson. I mean, he was like, Josh is like 4 years old when Kenan Thompson started.
Yes. Oh, no, they know Kenan Thompson because Kenan Thompson is from their youth.
Well,
Keenan Thompson was
I
still
say-
on Nick when they were like the stuff he did on Nick, like Good Burger, and he would show up on iCarly and those shows. They know Keenan Thompson from that more than they, and then that we know him. It's Keenan Thompson.
You know, I mean, I'm just in this case here. All that ended in 2005, so he would have been like 4-ish years old at the time. So he probably would not have remembered all that. Might have been too young for that one. So,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, in this case, I got to probably look this up. When Keenan Thompson, I think Keenan Thompson has more episodes of SNL than anybody else at this point. But I need to find out.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he does. I know he is the longest tenured cast member ever. More seasons than anybody else. So if you have more seasons.
Yeah. SNL cast members. All right. This is Wikipedia in this case. Fred Armisen did 11 seasons. Yeah, Keenan Thompson has 19 seasons.
Yep.
Daryl Hammond is second with 14. Seth Meyers 13. God dang, man. Whoa.
Yep.
And then you go all the way down to like the one where you have Damon Wayans. Remember if he did that?
Yes.
Ben Stiller did a season. Nobody remembers Ben Stiller on SNL.
Oh, there's Josh. He's here. I don't remember Ben Stiller on SNL. Josh, Zircology, when I say SNL, who do you think of? Write it in your comments if you would. And anybody else who's watching, when you hear SNL, who do you think of as not the definer of SNL, but as the person who most began your era, or maybe a skit that most began your era? I mean, to me, I remember Eddie, but it's Mike Myers that is like we're going to bump you up on these fronts. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey were living it up.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's funny. Nancy Walls did a season on SNL. She's Steve Carell's wife.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy
Kimmel was on Saturday Night Live?
Kimmel did?
He must be Fallon, right?
Jimmy Fallon. Yeah, Jimmy Fallon did SNL because he did Nick Burns.
Yeah. No, I know Jimmy Fallon did SNL.
He doesn't watch it. Okay, that's fine.
All right. There you go. Now he's not going to get any of your references from SNL because he doesn't watch SNL.
No, that works too.
And I'm not surprised because I'm a little surprised, but.
But yeah, Randy Quaid did a season on SNL once. Laurie Metcalf, who later on went into Roseanne. She did a season.
I think she did it post Roseanne. No, she could not post Roseanne.
Chris Elliott did a season. Anthony Michael Hall did a season. Garofalo only did 1 year. I thought she did more than that.
But that whole cast got fired the Anthony Michael Hall year.
Yeah. Billy Crystal, Joan Cusack. Yeah, Joan Cusack, I remember Billy Crystal for 1 year. Peter Aykroyd, Dan Aykroyd's brother, who was in the season.
All right, we got 3rd and 1 going in the game. Fortunately, the game is back, and you don't have to hear us rant about SNL.
Jimmy Fallon. Well, I remember Jimmy Fallon because he had a bit called Nick Burns, Your Company Computer Guy. And if you ever did IT, which I did at the time when that came out, you're like, yeah, if you work help desk, you get stuff like that. You get IT crowd, and you more or less, more often than not, typically hate Big Bang Theory. But yeah, 13 minutes left in the third quarter. At this point, we're underway. So. There we go. Trying to actually send a text on that too. There we go. So, okay. So 12 and a half minutes left. Kansas City did get the ball. There we go. Across the 50-yard line and rolling, rocking and rolling. Down to the streets I'm strolling. Josh, you are an awesome human being.
Boom. That's a stacked up. See, now they're throwing a heart meme because Pringle kept dropping the ball.
Well, 12, second down and 4 right now. So 46-yard line. And drop the ball. So, womp womp.
All right. So somehow I am, by the way, for those of you keeping track and caring about me, I am trailing the high score by 1 point. So I basically need Javonte Williams to get me 10 yards rushing and or a first down. And hopefully that will stay. That's a pretty high score in our league. So 180 is definitely something we're going to hold on to.
With dear life. And there's your first down. And then a few yards beyond that. So another 10 yards plus on top of that. Props there. Said seagulls. Stop it now.
I thought you said there's a first down. Looks like you dropped it. Or you must be on 3rd and 4.
Oh, no, I'm on 3rd and 4 now. So.
Yes, they are.
Yep. First down and 10. And yeah, now they're in field goal range, which is good because they need to start getting something here. So. Or on 4th is
they definitely have to make. They need to make Denver pay for not scoring when they had that great drive.
100% yes.
And that's what they – I mean, because, we were all on Denver's side. Do we think they made the right choice? But then they failed to get anything out of it. And now – then Denver stops them very successfully when they get the ball back. So it actually worked out but couldn't put points on the board. So now – if Mr. Mahomes can get it down this field. Oh, interception.
I'm going to bet dollars to donuts. He will not do that.
Yeah, but I would have known that you saw ahead. I'm not, you can't run the wire on me. I'm aware of what's happening here.
It occurred to me, actually, we're like 3 weeks away from 2022.
2022 is, yes. We are edging up on it quite well. And I got a big and I don't know about you. Well, probably not for you, but this is a 3-paycheck month for me, so very exciting to come into 2022 on a 3-paycheck month. You can't complain about that.
In my case, it's a little weird because the checks get mailed to me and they show up when they show up. I mean, I only have direct deposit through one source right now. The other ones I got to wait for snail mail checks on it. So naturally, everything takes longer. So
that is so weird.
Yep.
Yes, of all the things I've ever heard, and I knew that you've mentioned, I got this check mailed or that check mailed, so I'm aware of it. But yes, when you talk about being an actor, the weirdest thing isn't all the other stuff you talk about because people have similar complaints of ways they're being exploited as you do as an actor, no matter what your job is. But when you talk about your checks are mailed to you, it's like, what?
Oh, yeah. And I get checks for under a quarter from the residual checks because something airs in like Bulgaria or something. They print that check out, use the ink, paper, mail it, post it, do the whole shebang, and mail the check to you with also like 2 pages of document to show, where it aired, what the breakdown of like the 18 cents, net that you just got. And you could so easily set up direct deposit that way, but apparently, it's less expensive to do it this way.
It is because of the inconsistency of it. So when you do, because if you're going to use direct deposit as an employer, you have to have a particular type of loan account at a bank. So you are getting paid you're going to be charged interest on that loan account because every time you do direct deposit, you literally borrow the money you're depositing overnight. So the banks get their little fee, and now you have to borrow 13 cents. That's not fun. Like, you don't want to get charged a quarter of whatever on the 13 cents. So to probably do the inconsistencies of it, it actually ends up being cheaper. on those checks, and I'm not surprised.
It pisses us off too, because sometimes I have a check right now that I'm currently waiting on. It's now over a month.
Now
so that's the kind of stuff that pisses me off, because normally general rule is they start paying late fees if it's not paid out and postmarked by a certain date, technically. But in certain cases like COVID tests, there is no rule like that. So I've had COVID tests take 5 to 6 months to get paid for.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, most I ever got was 10 months on something. So again, that's the frustration of certain things. There was a project they did a bunch of years ago that went bankrupt midway through. And typically what happens is they have an escrow account where they put in to make sure that you have this money to pay everybody out of it. They burned that on production costs. So at 12 o'clock on like a Tuesday afternoon, the crew just left and they were like, we're done. And as a result, what ended up happening, the production never got finished. And it took me like 10 months to get paid on it.
I imagine so.
So, yeah, I forget the name of it too. It was something about being stuck in a subway or something. The wife of on Field of Dreams, you remember her, whatever her name, the redhead lady. Talking about redheads again. That was the one. But nice little pass there, but it's a fourth down and 3 at their 28-yard line. So they're punting, and still 9 minutes left to play in this game, in the third quarter. Still only 10-3.
Yes. Oh, by the way, I've already let everybody know that you would have told them that this game is moving quite fast.
Is this going to be like one of those Michael K? I know I often talk about this, but Michael K, when he does Yankee games, so a lot of times he'll go into, this is a very manageable 2 hours and 56 minutes. This is an unmanageable 3 hours and 42 minutes. Is this a manageable game is the question. That's what I want to know. Is it a manageable game?
Yeah. Well, Michael K aside, this game has been moving along quite nicely.
It is manageable, you're saying. Okay, yeah.
So we're looking at it was an hour and a half to halftime, so we might get a cool 3 hours and 15 minutes counting the halftime break. So we'll see how that goes. Denver is holding their own.
They are.
Kansas City defense, though, this Kansas City defense may be what, if it continues, this is a defense that they needed last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, this is a defense that was horrific in the beginning of the year, and now they keep holding their opponents to no points, and that's going to help you. That's going to make a difference when you need to play New England or the Bills. But more importantly, you want this defense when you have to play whoever comes out of the NFC, because the NFC teams, their offenses are, for real.
Yeah, most of the games, I'm looking at their schedule right now. Last week they won 28-13. Before that, they lost 30-13. But then they gave up 16 points, 10 points, 17 points, 34 points, 27-20. It's very hit or miss with this team.
But when did they give up because I'm looking, they lost to the Bills, and since then they beat the football team. They gave up 13. They lost to the Titans, gave up 27. Then they beat your Giants 17. They beat the Packers 7. They beat the Raiders 14. They scored the 41. They gave up only 14. Beat the Cowboys 9. Broncos at 3. Like, even the game they lost, it was 27 points. Their offense has been asleep.
Are you talking
but their defense is not.
Are you talking Kansas City or Denver?
I'm talking Kansas City.
Okay, I was talking Denver.
Oh.
My mistake on that.
Probably my mistake. That wasn't clear. That my main point being that this Chiefs defense, which really did start off pretty poorly, and it's really, 1, 2, 3. It's really only the first 5 games that their defense was really bad, because even they gave up 30 to the Eagles, they win. They gave up 38 to the Bills, they lose. Yeah, since the game against the football team, the most they've given up is 27, which is fine. But the offense has not been great. But yeah, we did see that they scored 41 points, more than anyone else on opening drive. So who knows? This is such a hard team to dial down and understand.
Now, in this case, the question I want to ask you is, we're going to talk a little Buffalo, New England, in this case, specifically New England. New England has quietly won 6 straight games here.
Not quiet.
All right, less than quiet. Impressively out of nowhere. This is a team that originally went 2-4, has now rifled off 6 straight wins, and a huge matchup against Buffalo. If they win tomorrow in a convincing fashion, do you start the Super Bowl talk?
I think that it doesn't even have to be a convincing fashion. I think the only thing holding the New England Patriots back from Super Bowl talk is that they've had a relatively easy schedule, and they have 2 games left against the Bills. They may not even win their division, and I don't think people want to talk about them and then get mud in their face. If they beat the Bills, they'll have a 2-game lead in their division. Plus, the worst they can do against the Bills is split. So it's a solid 2 games. The Super Bowl conversation will only be halted by the rookie conversation. So
whatever Mac Jones is able to bring him.
What was that?
So whatever Mac Jones can bring him.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Can Mac Jones take this team to the Super Bowl will be the conversation for sure if they beat the Bills. If they lose to the Bills, the conversation will still be, how good are they? Are they a playoff team? How far will they go in the playoffs? But they beat this Bills team, and I think that no matter what happens even to this game, the talk will be about Bill Belichick and how far can he take Mac Jones.
But here's my other thing. My counterpoint to that. Granted it was at home, but they crushed Tennessee last week.
Oh, yeah.
Both sides of the ball.
Oh, yeah. No, that's why it's not quiet that they've won 6 in a row. Mm-hmm. Like, they are a for real team. Mm-hmm. I think that the Tennessee team, people don't believe the Tennessee team is good because they lost Henry. And they think they're doing it with smoke and mirrors. And they thought they were doing it with smoke and mirrors with Henry to begin with, and that you can't win with defense and running the ball. And Tennessee has thrown in some real stinkers, even, with Henry. So that's why beating the Bills, classic Mahomes. Honestly, classic
that was
Mahomes.
A great pass right there.
That is classic Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think that the Tennessee talk. I've heard teams say that they're the best. I've heard people say that they are the best team in the AFC. I think there's 2 things that are keeping that as not the leading story. One is this Kansas City team, because despite how unimpressive Mahomes been, he's still a great quarterback. He just does plays like we just saw. And Andy Reid is still the coach. And the Bills stand in front of New England. So even though New England's actually ahead of them, the Bills are still there for 2 games. So this game tomorrow night that we're going to do is going to be implications upon actual implications and storyline implications. Both are going to be there for the taking. Like this game, if Kansas City wins, I don't think it changes anything in the storylines. Oh yeah, guess what? They're back, right? There's no storyline or narrative change, save an injury or something if Kansas City wins. Oh, look, their offense still isn't right, but their defense does seem to be good. That's probably going to be the story after this game. There's still some problems with Mahomes' games. What's going on? But they're the best team in the AFC until New England beats the Bills tomorrow night. And that's not my prediction.
I was going to say, is that your prediction there?
No, that's the storylines that are going on. I will make a prediction tomorrow, but I'm not making a prediction today. Somebody could get in Bill Belichick's doghouse between now and tomorrow. Change the whole game around.
So you do predict a team will win and it will not end in a tie?
I predict a team will definitively win and it will not end in a tie. Is this an offsides?
I think it was holding. So you will predict that one team will have more points than the other team.
One team will have at least a half a point more than the other team.
Now, conversely, let me ask you this. Will one team have half a point less than the other team?
No.
Just the one side only. Okay, got it.
Just the one side only, yes.
So 45, you're going to field 45-yard field goal here to make it 13-3. Snap, hold, end over end, and straight through, and he's got it.
All right.
And that was a little less, worrisome than the last one. One thing for the record I do like about this, I think I've said it before, is I like to say, how they said this would have made it from X number of yards.
Yes, I know. I know you're a big fan of that. I am too, except I do wonder that I don't know if kickers adjust how they kick when the yardage is changed. So it's just hard for me to know if that's true. You know what I mean? Like, do they go for more of a line drive because they know it's longer? They're on the hash mark. They have to adjust where they aim. Like, I just don't know.
So it's like launch angle in baseball, and how far the hit would have gone.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Baseball that used to be a sport.
No. Baseball was a sport. Yes, obviously, I remember when baseball was a sport that was interesting and exciting to me. But I don't think it no longer is.
Yeah. It's going to be
interesting. There may not even be a baseball season. I honestly, they went on. They did a lockout, and I haven't heard one word on any broadcast I've seen, any article I've read of what's going on. So it looks like it's a big deal.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be a while in this particular case, but that may be why all these absurdly large contracts are going out, because they don't have to pay full freight this year.
Yes,
the contracts are going out because they don't want to any kind of new rules that come out of a result of whatever agreement wouldn't apply, because it'd be grandfathered in. Apologies that took longer than I expected. Had another issue to deal with.
So on the large contracts, I'm more cynical than even that. I believe the large contracts happened because of reverse collusion, if you will. They went ahead, they signed those big contracts so that they could release that letter that said, "Hey, look at all the big contracts we're signing. The players are at fault here."
That letter from Rob Manfred was absolutely pathetic.
Horrific letter.
Now, I will put a conspiracy theory hat on for a little bit, based on an article that I read in from The Athletic recently. So, as a result of the Fox and Disney Corp mergers, the former Fox Sports regional sports networks had to be divested as part of that merger. Sinclair Communications bought the regional sports networks that had to be divested. They paid handsomely for it. I believe $8 or $9 billion. I believe was the price tag. They created a subsidiary they spun off a subsidiary for those channels and those rights, which I believe are under the Bally Sports banners. Yeah, I need to put some tinfoil on this hat. I know, in order to really be conspiracy theory, but anyway, that financial subsidiary is on the verge of bankruptcy, and if they start missing regular season games and don't have content, they basically bought at the peak of the market. When it comes to sports media, and regional sports networks are not the valuable properties they were in the age of cord cutting. So they are over leveraged with debt from that purchase. If they start losing regular season games, the company might go bankrupt. The owner of the rights for individual teams, and there's about 12 MLB teams, most of them small markets, that are affected by this. So if they go bankrupt, the broadcast rights revert back to the league, which they might be able to repackage in some kind of streaming deal. The economic model of sports broadcasting, particularly for regional sports like baseball. The other sports are national, but baseball has doubled down on becoming a regional sport, which is insane. So, if you have a regional product and you're going to upset regional fans, and you're trying to reinvent yourself with some kind of digital broadcast deal, that might be one of the end games here. Is for in addition to obviously trying to stick it to the players, is for baseball and the teams to get the broadcast rights back from a bankrupt regional sports network company, so they can sell them back out, presumably for more money or some kind of package deal with a bunch of teams.
To that end, conspiratorial, I will throw on some aluminum foil as well. One of the big issues to me as I look at this lockout is that players, even the best players, are probably looking at most at a 10-year horizon, and then they're done. But owners have got to be looking and talking the same way that we all talk about baseball's future, and they are looking on a 20, 30, 40-year horizon. And what you just said there, JD, is a way to ensure a better long-term future for the sport. And that is going to be something I think is going to be discussed in this CBA. And going to be a big sticking point between these two groups that don't even like each other is that Major League Baseball is going, hey, I've got to do right by this myself for 20. This CBA has to lay the groundwork for 30 years. And the players are like, the CBA needs to lay the groundwork for 10 or 5 or whatever the distance of this CBA is.
I think that there is a resolve among ownership that is similar to the NHL owners going into their multiple lockouts. They tanked an entire season to allegedly save the long-term health of the sport. It took 10, 15 years to come back, but as far as raw numbers and revenue, but it did. Is baseball trying to do the same thing? It's possible, but also at the same time, it's not like people are trying to get out of the baseball business. In the past 10 years, only 3 teams have been sold: the Astros, the Royals, and the Mets. And those last 2 sales of the Mets and the Royals were essentially part of estate planning by their owners, because the owners were old, and the former Kansas City owner actually passed shortly after the sale.
I think we have a direction we have to take this going forward.
Yeah. So baseball is in for decades, baseball has been good at shooting themselves in the foot and working in their own best interests. I don't think it ends until May. I don't think the entire season goes, but I think they miss about a month.
So, in your case, how many games do you think? 80?
Oh.
Obi, okay. Is that good? Is it good for you?
I know you guys have already seen the result of all those great blocks and whatnots, but
foul. Yep.
The flag, it's coming back.
Yeah.
The whole play's coming back. That was a really late flag for that play to come back. That play the flag doesn't come out till he gets tackled. Like, is this the personal foul they're showing me now on Cushenberry? That's after the interception.
But by the way, Obi, I'm going to take my step out if you don't mind.
Okay.
So I will put, let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, that. So
the return's coming back, but the interception isn't.
Yeah, I'll be over. So.
Okay. So we have a lot of these same conversations again and again and again because we do multiple games, and baseball is interesting to us, even if it's not interesting to everyone who watches us. And 3 of us are on the same page that this season is in jeopardy. I think, JD, you and I have very similar thoughts on where this is going. The owners' resolve, and being that they're scared of their product. Like you said, even though nobody's in the selling business, it may also, and there are lots of people in the buying business, which is interesting because they're players who are buying baseball teams now. I believe A-Rod just got into baseball ownership. We know LeBron, who's still literally playing basketball, is into baseball ownership. So there's still ownership there.
Patrick Mahomes in the Royals too. But Patrick Mahomes, has a small ownership stake in the Royals.
So there is,
which you can afford when you just signed a contract for $500 million.
So there are not major pieces being sold, but there are ownership groups that are looking for investments of funds because they're selling partial teams. So it's more of a hold situation than it's not a selling situation, but it is a hold situation. And this diversity of owners, I think it's also going to, all these teams having smaller ownership groups, I think it's also going to increase the owner's ability not to get the income, because A-Rod would like his baseball income, but for now he's got his everything else income.
Same basketball income now is the owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was so desperate to get into ownership that he bought a basketball team in a sport that he admittedly knew nothing about.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you that this is going to be long and ugly, and that the owners are very, very confident that they can miss another season to bring the sport back, because bringing the sport back, I think, is their goal.
I think they're overplaying their hand, though. I think if they miss an entire season like the NHL did, they do not survive that. I could see them losing part of a season and coming back, but if you're canceling an entire season, another World Series canceled, they do not come back from that.
I don't know if they're overplaying their hand or not, but the other conversation that we have had around this, Scott and I and Brandon, is this soccer is drooling. MLS is drooling over the idea that there's going to be no baseball. I wouldn't be surprised if you see the UFC decide to get away from pay-per-views as well. Like, this is an opportunity to create more viewership for your sport as baseball goes away.
You already saw a taste of that last year during COVID with the MLS's back tournament coming, resuming play before Major League Baseball did. So the first live sports back in America through COVID was Major League Soccer.
Yes. Well, that's not true. There was always cornhole.
Yes. Yeah. There's always cornhole. But if baseball doesn't get their shit together, they might be about as relevant as cornhole in a few years.
I agree. And it is a problem for that sport, because it is, the bottom line is, it's a sport that's made for radio, and we are we're two mediums past radio. We've gone from radio to TV to internet. Whatever that really means. Internet's so young, it's still being figured out, but we have passed radio by. Baseball is a radio sport.
Also, not even just the internet. We're at like internet 10.0 now. Just in how many different, as far as, what you could do on the internet and what exactly the internet brings for you.
Well, that's a whole different thing of exactly when do we say we've actually gotten to the internet plateauing, and then what number you want to give it? That's a whole nother argument, which I believe is going on consistently and overall. But with Scott's returning, I too have to step back.
All right.
Then we got the Chiefs driving now back on their own 35-yard line. And down. They're short of the first down.
They could run another play if they want to, but they don't have to right now. That close to the end of the third quarter. But turning into a little bit of a closer matchup than we expected here.
Yeah, I've been impressed by the Broncos defense.
Yeah.
Even after trading Von Miller, they've still been a very solid unit today.
All right, there's the punt, and 4 seconds left. 3, 2. Oh, fumble.
That's
Kansas City.
That wasn't a fair catch, was it?
No, I don't see a flag there. There would have been a flag for that.
Yeah, because he would have been a.
Oh,
but for hitting him before he catch it, I don't know if they hit him before he caught it though. Because even if it isn't a fair catch, I think you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, he
was running through by his own player.
If there's a fair catch call, then that negates it there, because he was hit by his own player.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he was hit by a Chief, that would have been the review.
And that would be a penalty
right now. But I mean, I don't know. He was driven into the
refs are still discussing. The refs are having the same discussion we are.
Yeah, really. And Terry McCauley's going to be coming in and say, well, in this case, they don't explain it.
What?
Kansas City ball. All right.
Kansas City ball because they say that the Kansas City defender was blocked into the returner, therefore the returner touched it, so it's a live ball.
Yeah.
Wow.
By the letter of the rule, I guess that is correct. But that's the big break that Kansas City needed to be able to break this game wide open. Bridgewater right now is 11 for 22 with 130 yards and a pick. Mahomes 14 for 27, 180 yards with a pick. So neither player is really breaking down the doors here.
Yeah, we have the Mahomes rushing touchdown as the only touchdown of the day.
Yeah, and that was at the very beginning of this game. By the way, I want to point this out. Speaking of touchdowns, Adrian Peterson got a touchdown today in his first game with Seattle. Yeah, I've had that impressive stuff.
Still got it.
Yeah,
impressive for. There's not many 35, 36-year-old players in the league left in general. To do that as a running back is impressive.
And my theory is this: it didn't obviously work out with Tennessee. They had rushers, they let him walk, but he could conceivably play the rest of the season right now with a Seattle team that's probably not going to make the playoffs. He has a great chance to be able to show what he's capable of and latch onto another team next year. This is what I thought Tennessee was going to be for them, or for him. It didn't work out that way. But I think he actually has a better chance in Seattle with this.
Yeah.
Because he can play the rest of the season. He's already got a touchdown, granted only 16 yards, but he can build off of this and try to get back into the NFL on a 1-year, maybe incentive-laden deal. Oh, yeah, I think it's 100% plausible. I think it's a great situation for him right now.
Well, Obi said himself when we did the Rams Titans game in Peterson's first game with the Titans, he said that with the Titans offense and the blocking scheme for their running game, it doesn't really matter which running back you have back there. I mean, yes, it's preferred to have Derrick Henry, but even out of their other backups that they already had on the roster, Peterson didn't really seem to be much of an improvement over any of the other ones. And Obi said that from his first game with the team. So after a few games, the Titans came to the same conclusion and let him go. But that doesn't apply in Seattle, as you said.
Exactly. So this is a great chance for him to be able to make something happen there. And again, start to build something. Speaking of, I was going to say, basically, you mentioned Derrick Henry, but right now the number one runner in the game is Jonathan Taylor.
Yes,
he went up against the second worst run defense in the NFL in the Houston Texans today, and he did exactly what his job was supposed to be.
And the Jets, who have the worst run defense, let the Eagles run all over them today.
Well, yeah, but we're trying to avoid.
And part of my fantasy Fistrell's fantasy
tipped and
fails today was having Boston Scott in my flex spot. Thinking, playing the worst running defense in the league, and with one of their running backs hurt, that he should get some touches and maybe a touchdown. 0.0. I got a Blutarski out of him.
Well, I nearly lost last week because I won by literally less than half a point. It's just one of those things where
that was the 0.25 points, right?
Yeah, and part of it was the fact that Chris Godwin had a fumble and only ended with like 2.7 points. But Jonathan Taylor has been my savior every single week. And he did exactly what he was supposed to do today. Because, again, the Texans have a terrible run defense, second worst in the NFL. And you just give him the ball and just take care of it. They won 31-0 on the road against a Texans team that when Tyrod Taylor – the only two wins they had this season were when Tyrod Taylor started. They were 0-6 or now 0-7 without him. And that's a mess.
Didn't they was he injured today or did they bench him?
I'm not sure exactly what the specifics were on that. Like I said, I'm still playing a little bit of catch up on stuff, but yeah, he's being evaluated. Yeah, they benched him and then put Davis Mills in instead. Again, I always had hope that he'd be able to turn his career around. Again, we talked about Adrian Peterson having a chance to, restart his career. Tyrod Taylor was my other one in that way.
So I heard my name mentioned with the Seahawks, and then I guess
we were talking about Adrian. We were talking about Adrian Peterson and how you said from the first game with the Titans that it didn't matter which running back the Titans had, that the results would be the same, and the Titans eventually came to the same conclusion and cut him.
Yeah.
Yes. I think there is and I guess you're saying, I think there is a chance that Adrian Peterson can do more than Rashad Penny and DJ Dallas. I think he's a talent that's
We see
higher.
lining up for the field goal, and it's good.
It easily gets that one, yeah. 16-3. Little by little, they're starting to basically expand on this lead here, but not as quickly as one would have expected.
Yeah, this is a very interesting team. When I went back and looked at the scores, right? This is not a team that's winning the way we imagined them winning.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the sour taste that defense had for the first 5 games of the season. It was horrific. And now the defense is holding teams down and letting the offense do what the offense does. And what I said while JD, you were away, is that might work because the NFC is bringing offense to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I don't know who's going to get there, but it's going to be a team bringing offense. And having some defense with the potential to explode on offense, I think is going to be big for the AFC team. And really, there's 2 teams that kind of personify that, and that is this Kansas City team and maybe New England. I mean, JD wasn't here for that conversation. Why don't you ask JD the same question you asked me about New England without saying that they've been quiet?
Okay. So without saying that they've been quiet, they have not unquietly, not so very, impressively, anti-quietly, now won 6 straight games. They started out 2-4. There was a lot of doubts, a lot of concerns about that team, and now they plowed off 6 straight wins. Their defense has only given up 14 points or more one single time during that streak. That was a 27-24 win against the Chargers. If they beat Buffalo tomorrow on the road, is this a team that you start talking about when it comes to a Super Bowl?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, just a win itself. So
I think you can never count out – you can't count out Belichick. Mm-hmm. And the Belichick factor in how the Patriots have – how many years have we had, the Patriots are finally done conversations in September, and then they just light up the rest of the league, the rest of the season, and go on a deep playoff run.
Last year would be the exception in this case.
Yeah, last year, but with as messed up as last year was, I'll give them one mulligan year. But they now are starting to play like the old Patriots.
Here's my
not Tom Brady, but he doesn't need to be, especially with a defense as good as they have.
You can build around him, especially with the year he's had so far. My question in this case here, and how big would this be if it's New England and Tampa in the Super Bowl? It's possible. If New England wins, like I said, we start having this.
I will not watch a single minute of any Super Bowl, any of that 2 weeks of media, of media self-gratification in the lead up to the Tom Brady and the Patriots have ruined the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. Anytime either of them are in it, it's just impossible to hear. But maybe that's for me as a long-suffering Jets fan and Patriots hater.
Yeah, you're suffering on 2 parts on that one.
Yeah. While I admit it's easier to respect Brady's accomplishments now that he's not on the Patriots anymore, and respect him as the GOAT that he is, and I do respect that. I hate it because he beat up my team twice a year for 20 years, but I'm now in a place where I can respect the greatness. But at the same time, just okay, we get it. Go away.
Yeah, but there's too much money in not having it go away.
I understand that, but it's painful to watch as a football fan. The same teams, the same people every freaking year.
Yeah, I'm on board with JD. I have stopped watching the 2 weeks leading up. Pretty much from the day Mike and Mike broke up in the morning, I stopped watching lead up at the same time. I wouldn't watch any sports talk that way. And look, there's some shows that I love. Probably shouldn't say their names. Probably shouldn't be giving them the press when I want it for myself. But I don't enjoy that kerfuffle of BS that just happens. Storylines get invented. The reality of the game gets lost. And I think nothing proved it more than last year. It was like one of these things where, in hindsight, it was obvious why Kansas City lost, and many people should have seen it. And people who are paid a lot of money, who apparently have experiences in football that I've never had, could not see the obvious outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, combined with how boring it is, I think that I don't want to hear about Belichick facing Brady in the Super Bowl for more than 10 minutes, and that will be the 10 minutes before I watch the game.
It might be bad enough where I may have to if that was the case, I may have to watch the Super Bowl on mute.
Well, it depends. Is Joe Buck doing it? No, it's NBC.
I believe it's NBC this year.
All right, that's not bad.
Depending upon my plans, maybe I'll be watching it in silence and being on the stream.
We have to discuss
or if you're at a party and you just are talking to the other people at the party and don't really care about the game, because that's happened more often than not over the past few years.
If we end up doing a live stream and I end up doing a live stream of the Super Bowl, it means I have to turn down a 110-inch screen for a Super Bowl because I'll be here. Decisions must be made if I'm going to be doing that.
Yeah.
But looking back, I went through most Super Bowl appearances in the last 20 years. Right now, New England is top with 9. Who would have thought? After that, Seattle and Pittsburgh are tied with 3. So in the last 20 years, you take out New England, and the next highest one with appearances is 3. That 2 teams there, and then you got like 10 or so 2s and a bunch of 1s.
Okay, but wait, there's something. I need to interrupt you because you're right about teams, but there was 4 Paytons and 6 Mannings.
Yes.
So that kind of increases the repetition a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You had the same 2 teams play each other twice.
That is true. Pass incomplete. So
the real thing was that the truth of the matter is the New England Patriots with Brady, they were struggling for storylines, and they just would throw stuff at us that we were supposed to care about that was not interesting. And they're going to do the same thing if those 2 teams meet again. They're going to make me care about Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick more than Tom Brady and or Bill Belichick care about it.
They really were reaching for storylines. Like there was one article I read before, I forget which Super Bowl it was over the past few years, where they found the person who runs a construction company in Michigan, who Tom Brady worked for a summer in college. Like, seriously? That's how deep we need to dig now?
And yet nobody ever talks about his time with the Montreal Expos. I think that deserves a little more talk about.
Nope. You're digging too. Nope,
no, that's just as bad.
No, you know what it is? It's not to me, it's not.
It's not that he actually played either with them or in their system.
It's quirky. It's quirky trivia versus basically the 75-year-old retiree that greeted him at Walmart when he walked in that one time. It's a lot. Oh, Bill, hello.
Yeah, we have actual football to talk about.
Yeah,
okay.
50, number 4, and he could go, and he is going to go all the way.
Bye-bye.
20, 10, 5, enjoying the ride.
And you were talking about the game breaking open.
Yes, and there it is. So, and I don't believe there's any flags on that. And this game is now 22-3 with 9:42 left to play. And Teddy.
We're up to 25. We're up to 25. I might still get my over.
You'll need a little more on that, but I think it's plausible.
There
may be some garbage points on that.
Not the over yet.
Oh, dude, pick 6. Ooh. So, Teddy, I like you, man. I like you. But
that was Sorensen.
I'll take you back with the Jets, Teddy. I still think that the Jets trading him before the regular season that year was the dumbest thing.
That ball was tipped at the right at the line of scrimmage. So Kansas City will probably go up 23-3, which means that you still need another 20 points, though, dude. It's a lot of points. Kick is up, and he missed.
Especially not with a missed extra point.
21 boys. 22 points. Wow. Yeah,
and with how weak the AFC is, it could be any team that floats to the top. So why not a team that has the experience that New England has?
I would start there. I mean, the question is, does Mac Jones have the experience? No, but he can rely so much on Bill Belichick. I mean, if you're in New England and you see what your future is with Mac Jones, you're excited again because you know what you're going to get.
But yes, it's Bill Belichick, but I don't know the exact number. We did that thing with Atlanta. We counted 3 guys from the team that choked, but 9 guys on the Patriots who were in the Super Bowl did not play for the Patriots last year and came back this year. I don't know if all 9 guys even made the squad, blah, blah, blah. But that's got to be 6 or 7 Super Bowl winners on that team at least.
Yeah. Well, half the Patriots defense, the reason the Patriots went 7-9 last year wasn't just Cam Newton. It was the fact that half the Patriots defense opted out for COVID.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a whole interesting thing that the team that most opted out was the Patriots. I mean, some people saw it as an indictment on Belichick, but I don't know what it was. It might have been a sense of, I've done this. I've won this thing. I have some rings. I don't need to risk this for some championship that may or may not be tainted. I have a real championship. I wonder how many of those guys opted out because that was this.
I'm sure that was a factor.
Yeah. I just won. I'm good.
That was definitely a factor in players opting out. And if there had been if we didn't go back to, let's say, a normal-ish season that we have this year, after the weirdness of last season, if it was kept going on same protocols as last year, I think you would have seen a lot more players throughout the league retire. Mm-hmm. And the Patriots, for players that have a lot of championships, would have been perfectly content in doing so.
Yeah.
But now they've come back with a vengeance, and they have a year off for any of the nagging bumps and bangs and bruises to heal up.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
What is that building that has that weird, those weird lights?
It almost looks like a racetrack, but it's not. I like the light tracker.
I've never been to Kansas City, so I have no idea of anything about it, any kind of local landmarks or anything aside from the stadiums. It's basically stadiums and a bunch of barbecues. That's about all I know about Kansas City.
Hey, kids, let's take a chance to learn a little bit about Kansas City. Let's see. Incorporated June 1st, 1850. Their motto is they're called the Paris.
The original home of the New Jersey Devils for 2 seasons is the Kansas City Scouts.
That's true too. Let's see. Who's known from Kansas City? Walter Cronkite's from there. Cool. The more you know.
Oh, now you know.
Yes. You got the Chiefs, the Royals, the Sporting KC, by the way, in soccer, the Kansas City Mavericks, the Comets, the Blues, and the Storm.
Who are the Kansas City Storm and Kansas City Blues?
The Blues are a rugby team, and the Storm is the women's football team.
Okay.
So. Yeah, all right. Let's see. The Kansas City Storm is a women's tackle football team. They play out of a high school.
Not a lot of interest in women's tackle football, I guess.
Guess not. Yeah. In 2010, they defeated the Topeka Mudcaps, 21-0. The Mudcats, I like that name. All right, 9:42 left. Bridgewater has the ball again. Goes to the sideline. He is going to have to try to open this up fast. Williams has had a good day rushing the ball, but It's been
Had a good day receiving.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah, all purpose for 47 yards, all purpose. But yeah, that clock is a running. 9-18, 17, 16. Then Bridgewater throws another pick. They might bench him. Yeah, back to Williams again.
I know Fangio is one of the big points of contention with Broncos fans has been Fangio's handling of the quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of Broncos fans are just done with Bridgewater and think that Fangio just has it out for Locke for whatever reason. Probably because he didn't draft Locke, or there's some back and forth between Fangio and management, the Broncos, over Drew Locke apparently.
Locke was heir apparent to that team too.
The Broncos have had a lot of heir apparents at quarterback, but
that's not wrong.
They haven't drafted a quarterback with any success in years.
Plummer? Was Plummer the last successful?
Maybe Greasy.
No. The guy who ended up Cutler.
Cutler
Plummer was semi-successful.
Cutler. Yeah, and he had his success mostly with other teams.
Yeah.
And he was also referenced in South Park.
And, since I was about to say that they've had a lot of starting quarterbacks, and NBC has beat us to it. Most in the NFL since 2016, 10. Wow. Tied with the Jets and Washington. Second to last in the league in touchdowns, and I didn't see the last stat. Obi, what do you got?
What do I got? My favorite thing about Cutler is Plummer was the quarterback, and Cutler was a rookie, and they were headed to the playoffs. They put Cutler in, and they missed the playoffs, and everything has been downhill since, except for a little bit of Peyton Manning.
The only thing I remember about Jay Cutler with the Broncos is the South Park episode. Where
that was a Guitar Hero episode.
Yeah, the Guitar Hero episode. Where they're at the party with all the celebrities. Whoa, Jay Cutler! My dad says you're furniture guy. My dad says you kind of suck, but you might be good someday.
Yeah, they end up meeting like local celebrities, almost like they have like Bob's Furniture over here.
Yeah, I read that there was a lot of local Easter eggs in local.
Well, those guys are from like the Colorado area.
Yeah, and the Casa Bonita is an actual restaurant, and Trey and Matt actually and it was doing very badly, and Trey and Matt actually recently bought it to try and turn it around.
Well, you said there was a $700 million deal with Paramount, which, by the way, I really liked that first episode, that the future episode.
I admit I haven't really kept up with South Park the past few years.
The one went on Paramount Plus where they went forward in time. You're
the only one who watched it on this podcast.
Okay. It was probably some of the best stuff they've written in years.
What was it? Yeah.
I saw the previews for that, which looked interesting, but I don't have Paramount Plus, so didn't bother.
But like I said,
South Park has approached the same territory as The Simpsons and Family Guy, where it's been on so long that they just kind of you can tell they've run out of ideas and are trying to shark too much just to keep things going.
And maybe that's why it was actually as good as it was, because it pushed things forward in time, so you see things from a different perspective.
Kiss cartoon.
There's a lot of basically, the Paramount Plus. I mean, I think it gives you like a 30-day trial, that sort of thing. So, all right, Bridgewater's got the 20, and ball's dropped.
Great.
And a flag on the play.
I'm still looking for more points here from. Well, I guess I'm not. I'm hoping Judy can.
It's like 6:50 left. They got to make something happen here. They're going to have a shot. They have to go for 2 on it too, no doubt.
Yeah. They have to do everything that you got to do. They can't get rid of the ball. They can't punt it. They can't kick field goals. They just basically have to go ahead and do everything I would do during the regular part of the game.
So you recommend
true, because the one thing I'm conservative on is I'm like, I'll take my 3 points many times more than you do. It's the one thing you're like, just go ahead.
Well, they're inside the 15 now, the 14. They got most of that penalty back, so it's probably about a second down and 6. But again, that clock is approaching 6 minutes left.
The clock is the biggest enemy here.
Oh my God, that clock is a fiend to them right now.
The clock and the score. and their offensive struggles.
So, yeah. So the lack of points and no TD allowed since week 10 in the third quarter for the Chiefs defense.
Williams is over 100 yards, 15.5 points in standard ESPN's PPR scoring.
That's solid there. But
in my scoring, he was up over 30 points.
If you have Chetty Bridgewater as your quarterback, you're in for a bad time.
Yes, in my league scoring, Teddy Bridgewater's sitting in the negative.
No, yeah. Well, mine would be.
And he looks like Teddy's coming up limping there after that.
He's hurting. Yeah. He'd be about
-9. -0.9. So a completion will probably get him over that, but.
Yeah, he get 5 in mine right now. 202 yards with 2 picks and 10 yards rushing. Who's their third string quarterback?
Locke.
Do they have a third quarterback?
No, I thought Locke was back up. And he's nearly picked again. Oh, shit bricks. Wow.
Steady Teddy, not so steady anymore.
Oh, Brett Rippon is the third one. He's out right now, but
that's right. He started a few games last year because of COVID issues, I believe.
Dude, they had a wide receiver starting.
Yeah, they had a running back starting a quarterback at one point.
Oh God, COVID made sports unlike any other year. Baseball, empty stand, silhouettes. I know a guy that had like silhouettes in a ton of different stadiums, but Wednesday afternoon football, Friday. I know basically upset about it, but it was such a unique anomaly, and I love that part.
Williams.
Yeah, they finally got a touchdown on there, and a passing touchdown at that.
Yeah, I have my fan cut out as now from the Seton Hall games last year is now up in our living room.
Oh, cool! So you can walk in on yourself.
I actually photobombed my own picture recently because my mom came down here to visit. So we got a picture of the three of us, and I am looking over my own shoulder.
There's a guy at CBS 880 who does traffic and all that kind of stuff, and the dude has not shaved his beard in like 5-6 years. I mean, he's got like a ZZ top level thing going on here. Long hair. He has not cut any part of his hair. And he just decided to go silhouettes all over the place, and every stadium, with the Mets, with Toronto and all this kind of stuff. And he's got them all. And he just keeps them all. What are you going to do with them? But Denver does not convert on the 2-point conversion. So it is still a 2-touchdown game now.
And still 31 way in under territory.
Yeah. Sorry, Obes. You need 2 touchdowns and then some.
Hey, Tyreek Hill accidentally breaks one, and then a touchdown comes back the other way, and I'm there.
So you get a couple kickoff returns both ways here.
No, this is. I'm not joking. This is prime running back, or is supposed to be running for 2 yards and breaks it, and the defense is not ready for it, and they get that.
Well, right now, Obi looks like the most right out of those out of the three of us with our pregame.
Yeah. But covers the spread, but misses the over/under. Yeah. And I think he said just misses it, and we both assumed it'd go over the top, which did not happen.
Oh.
The Chiefs might get to 31, though.
Yeah. They could. I am really, really Jones for the new Matrix movie. I really am.
For what?
The new Matrix movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
By the way, the dead horse I've been beating is over here.
In the timeline, the movie is
right next to the baseball horse
and the second?
And the New York stuff. What's that?
In the timeline, the movie's between the first and the second movie?
I don't think so. I personally think it's a new timeline. I don't have the answer on that, and I'm not going to try and figure it out. I'm just going to roll with it because
I thought it was a known thing.
No, I don't think I know. But we got that. We got Cobra Kai. We got Hawkeye. We got a new Hawkeye coming out. So on Tales from the Film Set on that Twitch, we do a live stream watch party reaction as well. So
yes. So yeah, I got 3 shows going on right now. I'm very excited because they dropped. There's 3 shows that aren't just a big drop. I got Hawkeye. That's on Wednesdays. I'm doing Wheel of Time. That's on Fridays. And of course, I got my last episode of the Doctor Who Flux that I missed right now, but we'll be watching that tomorrow.
I'm 4 episodes behind right now on Flux.
And Opie, you have to watch. You go over watching Doctor Who with your son, right?
We discuss it. Yes.
We discuss it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He actually got me into Doctor Who. Go figure.
But from my understanding, it sucks less this season, but they still double down on the bombshell from last season.
So yes, and the big thing to me is they put so much into the last episode before the final episode. I don't know, you may have saw on my Facebook. I was like, Kevin Feige couldn't land all this in an hour, let alone Chibnall, who can't land anything with 2 hours. So this is gonna. I'm very nervous about what this episode was like tonight.
Well, here's what I've looked at. I've studied the TV ratings in the UK. It's averaging about 3.5 million viewers in its home location. Onside kick and bobbles him, but Kansas City recovered it. In this area, in the US, it's averaging about 300 to 350,000 viewers.
Yeah.
In the 18 to 49 demographic, it has never broken 100,000 viewers this season.
It's going to be niche again.
So does that even register 0.1 on Nielsen?
It registered like 0.06 or 0.08. So actually like 60,000 to 80,000 every episode in the 18 to 49 demographic. So all the people that are watching it are old farts. Oh, the numbers are terrible.
Yeah. Well, I do wonder what will happen when it gets rebooted again. Like, because that's the nice thing. Well, we messed up. We'll bring it back in a whole new version.
In Russell, we trust. Bring back the guy who started the reboot in the first place.
Yes.
Best 4 seasons of the show. But anyway, again, beating that dead horse. I think we need more topics to talk about. I think we keep doubling back to things too often. That's my own fault. Please comment so we have something new to talk about. Give us a question. Give us anything. 4.5 minutes left.
Well, we can talk about our favorite TikTokers or Instagram follows, or there's all sorts of social that we're showing our age because we're talking about things that are on regular TV and not on socials of various sorts.
I'm strong in the YouTube arena for a 46-year-old guy. So
I've gotten better in the YouTube arena as well, although mostly with gamer stuff because that's what Steph is into the most. But
like Jacksepticeye and such.
Yes.
Yeah. Jacksepticeye. That hair, Mm-hmm. Well, I was doing a lot of Game Grumps on the Let's Plays.
Yeah. See, my gamer stuff's all on Twitch. I watch some Thundershock and some Mana Leak. So those are my gamers, but I'm more like exposed to them than watching them, if you will.
Yeah. Markiplier is another frequent one. And we watched Unisonus. Steph got me into that. I was I thought it was dumb at first, but I got into it. Towards the end.
We watch a lot of film theory, food theory, and things like that over here. All the MatPat stuff. Food theory. The one that they had just recently was about the McRib sandwich and all the stuff behind the scenes on why they do what they do. It's not as simple as you may think it is, but it talked about previous success that they had and previous failures of trying to market this thing. The origin. I mean, it's a lot of food history and stuff like that.
There was an article I read recently talking about the origin of the Egg McMuffin.
Mm-hmm.
And how it was invented by a franchise owner, and McDonald's just took all the credit.
Basically, well, McDonald's was credit.
I like the YouTube video I saw about the broken ice cream machines. Guy did a whole investigation how they're broken because the company that makes the ice cream machines is also the company that repairs the ice cream machines.
Yeah.
And the article included the guy who gave him all the information, and now it's become a big lawsuit. So I was like, I caught that right before it broke on YouTube.
I don't know if I saw the video, but I know I read an article about that and how it's become one of the big flashpoints in part of the greater, battle of capitalism, if you will, over right to repair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's held up as one of the worst examples of it. Forced to go through authorized retailers and authorized repair outlets. And how pricey and how it's basically legalized price gouging by the manufacturer.
Right. Yeah.
The world's run by stock prices.
Mhm.
Yeah. We can get into the economics of economy at any point.
The American economy is run by stock prices. Other countries' economies are run differently because they look at the world in different ways.
America, fuck yeah. Come on. So, okay. Yeah, we got 2.5 minutes left at this point, so hang it in there, home stretch.
My team has broken 200 points in the league. I needed a high score for.
Muzzle
So, big time there. For anyone who's keeping track of my leagues, I'm looking at you, Bernard boys. I know you're watching. You know the Bernard boys, possibly.
What's the first name?
A Tim and a Brian.
Brian Bernard sounds vaguely familiar.
Brian was younger than you. Tim was older than you.
What year did Brian graduate? 95?
What year did my brother graduate?
95.
There you go.
Maybe that's why I did. Okay. Here's the thing. From 95, the one I remember obviously best, I think, was Jason Pepper, far and away.
Okay. He was big in Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and then
saw my first porno at his house too.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, we stayed over at his house one night. First time I stayed over, and I don't remember. It was a weird freaking thing too, man. But
well, that's a weird thing. Not that you saw it there or with him, but we used to, when we were younger, porn was something like you shared with the guys.
Dude, it's up thrown deep, but I think it's a flag, so it doesn't matter. The weird is not interception you're probably going to ever see when you see it. I remember on scouting trips, sometimes you find weird magazines in the woods.
Yeah.
One time I found a bunch of them, and Mr. Kaplan took them away from me.
I ended up with a large collection of I ended up with like 3 paper bags full once that I kept for quite some time.
Paper drive?
Yeah.
Sometimes you find those too, yeah. By the way, it was a false start on Patrick Mahomes. I just want to point that out. How often do you see a quarterback do a false start?
Yeah. And he knew it because he knew it was on him or something, because that was a horrific throw.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be safe here. Maybe the whistle blew, because that's one of those things, I had no volume, so I can't hear.
He took a sack he had to take there, 3rd down and 18. Because, last thing you want to do is throw an interception. You can please punt the ball, but it burns a timeout for Denver.
I've never seen a quarterback get a false start before.
I was just saying that, it
was even possible.
The flag was called, so it was a non-play. He just throws it deep downfield, and it was almost like a punt.
That's a great safe sack he took there, by the way.
Brett Favre would be proud.
No, Brett Favre would not be proud. He didn't run over to Michael Strahan's side and take a dive.
Yeah. Strahan, I think, is more famous for Good Morning America and all the rest of that than anything else.
At this point, yeah, I think he is more famous for his after football career than his football.
I think that's common for folks who go into broadcasting post football. I mean, Bubba Smith comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who was Merrill Olsen.
Yes.
From Little House on the Prairie. The guy who was in
Alex Karras.
Alex Karras.
Alex Karras, yes.
Sorry.
And those were good. I mean, Fred Dreyer and Cruz, they were a little different. They were not big-time football players, but some of those other guys were. But I don't know.
Counting the people who played football but aren't famous for football, like Terry Crews and Dwayne Johnson?
Am I on mute? I just said not those guys. Because they weren't famous for football.
Yeah. I was trying to multitask watching too many.
Oh, okay.
And there's the sack, such as it is.
Well, it counted. But it'd be interesting. because as Strahan was becoming more popular, he referenced his football career all along the way. Like if you ever saw him on Strahan and Kelly, he wasn't like he was like, where did you come from? Oh, I'm a New York Giant. I'm a New York Giant. And he does enough stuff that I would be interested to see if you ask people where, Strahan's history, how many people knew he was a football player of some renown, a football player, period, and didn't play football at all. I knew he played football. I didn't know how good he was. No, he was
apparently Washington and San Francisco are tied for the last two wild cards at 6-6. So Philly's a half game behind them.
Yeah.
And the Rams are 8-4.
Big win for the Rams today. I mean, it was an easy win, but they needed to show people they could beat bad teams.
Yes.
Which, by the way, also Kyler Murray.
Well, all the Rams do is all that Stafford has done his entire career is beat bad teams.
Yes.
We look at stats on that too. It's like
the stats are insane.
It's like 12.
Oh yeah.
How bad that split is. I've never seen anything like that. Where it is, what did you say? His winning percentage was like 110 against teams over 500. And
I'm pulling it back up right
been
now.
in the league 12 years, so it's not like it's a fluke of a small sample size.
I'm not going to go in enough detail, but as of February of this year, he's 8-67. So he's a 106 win percentage entering this season. But you know what else is interesting here too? Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what year this is. Since 2012, Aaron Rodgers is 7-24 against plus 500 teams.
Is what?
7-24 against plus 500 teams. I don't know as of when, but that's a crappy record too.
By the way, as I want to look at these stats for this game, I know very early in our show we were talking about Trevor Lawrence. He was 16 for 28, so he did pass the.
It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, no interceptions. I mean, this is just not a team you can do a lot with. Chenault never really became the player they wanted him to be. Marvin Jones is just old. There is nothing on this team offensively to measure his ability against.
The thing with Lawrence is that despite all of that, he hasn't really he's had a few more turnovers than you would like to see, but he hasn't really put up stinkers the way that Wilson or Fields and the other rookies have. Like he's been not good, and there've been, we had a lot of turnovers, but he's there's you can see that he's talented. He's just adjusting, and he has no talent around him.
Yeah, I was going to say, and how long until he washes out because of this? 3 years? 4 years? And would he have been better if he'd been drafted by, say, New England?
Well, yes. I mean, the New England New England for Lawrence, when Rodgers fell to Green Bay, as unhappy as he was about it, that's a great situation to be in. To not be the number one pick is such a great situation for a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really.
Look at having Ryan Leaf that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, don't be the number one pick. No, Ryan Leaf was
I know, yeah.
But, like, not being the number one pick is such an advantage over being the number one pick as a quarterback. As number two's not. I mean, on the other hand, when you had Goff and Wentz, they went to teams that were in the middle of the pack, but it still didn't work.
Well, as the last few times that we've had, the debate at the top of the draft of do you take quarterback A or quarterback B, we discussed on a previous week that, there's 3 times in the past 10 years where it came down to quarterbacks going 1-2, and it turned out that the long-term answer was neither one.
Right. Yeah.
Now,
yeah, we did.
I'm looking at records here of QBs that have had at least, say, 30 games against plus 500 teams. And there's only 2 QBs in there that have a plus 500 rating against teams above 500. Tom Brady, unsurprising, one of them. The other one is Russell Wilson.
Is that active quarterbacks?
This is active right now, and this is as of, again, beginning of this year.
Even Mahomes, how about Mahomes, or is he not?
Mahomes has enough, but I actually didn't go by. I went by 30 or above. Mahomes only has going into the season 16 games. He's 10-6.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson also. Russell Wilson is 32-27. Aaron Rodgers was 36-43-1 against plus 500 teams. Scrolling down to the very bottom here, let's take a look at the worst of the worst.
Where's Mr. Prescott at?
Dak?
Not a big enough sample size.
Probably not.
If you're going 30 or more starts, then
Well,
that basically takes out any of the young quarterbacks who've been in the league 5 years or less.
Yeah.
Deep diving, he was 0-3 against plus since the start of the season. Looks like, he's 13-20, just under 400 record going into the season.
12.
And what is Brady's record? Obviously,
he had a 611 win percentage. I forget what the exact number was though. Oops. Big Zerk just sent something there.
And Broncos have another turnover. Back to the Chiefs, who go victory formation, and we are
here. Yeah, Tom Brady is in 121 games, 74-47 for 611.
Das Goat.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. I mean, it's just.
Going into the season, Daniel Jones is 0-9 against 500 teams or better.
Yeah,
but I would say that if you can handle being like, based on what you said, if you're 450 against 500 teams that are 500 or better, you're in the conversation. I mean, that's fine. Like 500 teams apparently are hard to beat. That because they're 500 teams, they win 50% of their games.
I'm saving this link, by the way. This is a great one for trivia.
And is this teams that end above 500 or 500 when you face them? Because the stat was about Stafford was teams that finished above 500.
Finished the season with a record above 500 to qualify as a winning team.
Okay.
So 8-8 would be no, but a 9-7 would be okay.
Okay.
Worst overall is Matt Stafford, 8-67. We talked about that. The only other member of note here after X number of starts, Kirk Cousins was 7-35, and Derek Carr was 14-45. So that's that's pretty rough there.
Well, right now, I'm pulling up the Rams schedule to see how so far this year to see how that number is tracking.
What staff's got coming up? Yeah.
Win against Tampa.
Will definitely be above. Washington might be above 500.
Washington is 500. Washington, well, they might be, by the end of the season, we'll see. Looking at the Rams schedule this year, we have win against Tampa, lose to the Cardinals, lost to the Titans, lost to the 49ers, although the 49ers are currently 500, lost to the Packers. So, yeah, we're about on the same track.
Jeez.
But it's interesting because it just as we actually go long for once. Prior to this year, 9-7 was what it took to be above 500, and one more win, you're a playoff team most seasons. So you're really saying his record against playoff teams that eventually made the playoffs, which as his is abysmal. But you would really expect teams, even quarterbacks to have problems. And teams have problems against future playoff teams.
Well, it's one thing to have a slightly below or above 500 record.
Oh yeah,
it's another thing to have a 100 win, a 106 win percentage.
Absolutely. I'm not defending Stafford. I'm defending many of the other names that were said that were were below 500. That you're really not talking about teams that are 500. You're talking about teams who were 9-7, whatever that math turns out to be. You're talking about 600 teams. You should be 400 against them.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's probably going to do it. You gentlemen have any other final thoughts, ideas, compliments, or complaints?
Remember, like us, subscribe, and come watch us tomorrow night. That is going to be a game that has big storylines and big real lines connected to it.
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot to it. It could easily be a playoff preview. Easily. Actually, this could have been too if situations were different, but that one has major implications. So, Mr. Walker, how about you? Anything left?
that pretty much does it for me. We have tomorrow's game. We will see tomorrow's game. We have we also have Spanglish Sports 10 on
Yes.
on Tuesdays.
We will talk more about that in tomorrow's show, probably. So, All right. So, as for me, I'm Scott Schertzen, Mr. Obie Spencer, and also Mr. JD Walker. There we go. Like I said, tune in tomorrow night. We've got another Monday Night Football matchup. Thursday night, we got football. And then Saturday, MLS Cup, New York, heads over to Portland. We'll be doing a live stream there with soccer writers, commentators, and the whole shebang on this. We're going to figure this out. I got a couple things I got to work out because I just came up with the idea today. But by God, it's going to be awesome. So have a great night and be awesome yourself.